What's going on, everyone? Welcome to this special episode of the Season Gaming Bitcast. We are back. It is at a weird time on a Monday afternoon for most of us, but we do what we got to do, right? So I am your host, Ainsley Bowden, joined by this awesome panel as always. Guys, it's good to be back. Mr. Tie Guy Travis flying in hot from Guardian Con in Florida. And he said that he's thinking about moving to Florida, right? Is that what I heard?
No.
I misheard.
Loves Florida.
No, not so much. Yeah, Orlando's not my favorite city in the world, but also the convention was a little light this year because Bungie didn't show up and some other vendors canceled. So it ended up being sort of just like me hanging out with a lot of Destiny fans and just hey, you also play Destiny? Yeah, cool.
I thought that was a pun about light levels or something before you started on your description there.
I'm very confused because I, again, completely ignorant to Guardian Con, but I was assuming in my head that this was a Bungie thing.
Yeah, Bungie usually shows up. It's a thing put on by community members of the Destiny fan base, but Bungie usually shows up and supports it. This year, they more or less just like kind of tweeted about it, but said we won't be there, and so I was curious how much that would be affecting the turnout, and it turns out it affected a lot. It was a pretty empty show floor, and they're also really. I was trying to make money while I was there, covering games and pitching stories to IGN. But there was a total of 5 games there.
Okay.
And
were they good?
There weren't stories I could sell, especially not during the week of every big game announcement, happening all at once. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a bust.
There were big game announcements happening during this period of time.
Oh boy.
What?
Oh boy.
I didn't catch all the shows.
Gosh,
I don't know.
I shouldn't even have to talk this episode. This is gonna be great.
This is gonna be a fun one. Buckle in, everyone. All right. He's getting started already. He's warmed up and piping hot, ready to go. Mr. Hogue Law himself. Good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning, Ains. Although I think it's afternoon for me. It might be afternoon for you as well.
It is afternoon for me.
Either way, I just want to say as a disclaimer caveat before we get rolling in this episode, I like video games. And I think you guys are going to have to reflect on that and hear it really, truly as we get deeper into these conversations. Because I have been told by various social media outlets and otherwise that I apparently don't like video games. And the answer is you can like video games. You can like the concept of something, the platonic ideal of what is out there in the ether, and not like the very samples of that were provided to you in any given time frame. So with that as our caveat, I also want to say welcome to Hogue Law channel, folks. We are simulcasting this episode over to you. If you're at all confused about where you are or how you got there, if you're following it on Hogue Law, virtual legality, whatever you want to call it, you are watching Season Gaming Bitcast. And if you want to keep watching this stuff, we do this on the Season Gaming channel every Sunday at 11 a.m., except, of course, for yesterday, making me an immediate liar when I make that statement. But if you like this, if you wind up liking it, please do come check it out over there. But we thought for this very special episode, it would be cool to simulcast with 2 chats, really make Dan work for it, get crazy with chats or super chats or figuring out what the heck is happening here in StreamYard. We thought that would be a lot of fun. And just have 2 communities and 2 audiences, talk with one another. So welcome. And thank you, Ains, for putting together a simulcast here. I feel like we're big time football or basketball program, and I hope everybody enjoys.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And yes, this is going to be interesting trying to keep up with 2 simultaneous chats and all over the place, but we'll make it work. We're going to make it work.
Yeah, I mean, my screen right now looks like the stock market ticker, but much less terrifying today. Yeah.
And then, you know him well. I think he's happy Hogue is here today. Is Mr. Rodriguez himself.
Yeah, I feel like today's gonna be like, yeah, I agree with this guy. That's gonna be because I think we have a lot of the same feelings on what happened. But
okay, so we're not going top bottom today. We're going left to right side of the screen.
We got a graphic with like a laser fence between the middle there. We got we'll do like Ready to Rumble style with Dreamcast graphics. We can make it happen.
Oh, let's do it.
Travis, I'm gonna need you on your apparently on your most positive note today because I hope you've come prepared. Get Florida out of your mind. All right. So yeah, today's show is a special. So today we're not going to talk about what we've been playing, reviews, or anything like that. We're literally, since we've been gone away for 8 days now, we couldn't live cast the Xbox stream like we originally hoped to. This is going to be an entire conversation about Summer Game Fest, some of the games from some of the other smaller shows, and of course the Xbox and Bethesda showcase yesterday. So
I was told this was a 2-hour video on The Quarry. Am I in the wrong place?
I'm down for it. It's a good game. I'm playing it right now. It's great. Yeah, so guys, since we last spoke, I should say, we talked last time about State of Play and obviously the few big games we saw there. Since then, we've had Summer Game Fest, the official show. We've had Devolver Digital. We've had Guerrilla Game Collective, and a bunch of the smaller ones, and of course Xbox and Bethesda. So let's rewind the tape, if you will, and we're gonna start back at Summer Game Fest, Keighley's official
very long
show.
time ago. Yeah.
It feels like
it feels like a million years ago.
It does.
It's about 6,000 announcements ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Ains, did you want to mention the giveaways that we were doing?
Yeah, I might as well. That would have been good to follow my own notes. I probably could have done that. Yeah.
No worries.
Dan's on top of it, man.
Yeah,
ready to go today.
That extra 2 hours, man. I'm like, woo, let's go.
So we are doing giveaways today for 3 months, a few codes for 3 months of Game Pass Ultimate. Obviously, after yesterday, everyone can use some extra Game Pass. Oh, stop it.
I didn't even say anything. You got to wait. You can't get preemptive on me.
Yeah, this is true. So just all you have to do is be in the chat, and Dan is gonna, about 45 minutes in, at various points throughout the show, he's just gonna pick someone random. It's gonna combine both chats. Don't worry about what channel you're on, and just pick someone random for a Game Pass Ultimate code. If for some reason he picks you, and you're not an Xbox player or don't think you're gonna use the code, be honest. Just say, hey, I don't need it. Give it to someone else, and we'll pick someone else. Cool. Simple. All right. So, guys, Summer Game Fest. Now, I know it's been a while. I have all the games in the notes here. So, I'm going to quickly read through the core games that were shown at Keighley's show, just to kind of refresh everyone's memory, because we have had about 800 game announcements since last week.
We have.
So, just to refresh everyone, the bigger things that were shown at this show.
All right.
We got gameplay of Callisto Protocol.
Yep.
We got gameplay of Modern Warfare 2.
Yep.
We got the introduction of Guile and Street Fighter 6, so a little more gameplay there. Yep. Got that game Witchfire, Routine. We got finally the look at Cuphead's Delicious Last Course.
Yep.
Midnight Suns.
Did we see Midnight Suns? All right,
really.
We'll get back to it.
Yeah, not really. Midnight Fight Express, which we're going to have Travis speak to briefly because he's actually played it. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Shredder's Revenge. The new One Piece game. Saints Row, along with what they released as this enemy creator. Layers of Fears, the new game from Bloober Team. Gotham Knights, and The Last of Us 1 remake, which Sony leaked themselves like 3 hours before the show.
They do that from time to time. They also strike themselves from time to time. They do.
It made for a very funny morning, that's for sure. So, guys, Keighley's show, some of the things we've heard before, especially about the video game awards, right? Too much fluff, too many ads, need to see more gameplay, get rid of the music acts, all this kind of stuff we've talked about with the video game awards before.
Well, how will I figure out what The Rock wants me to buy?
You notice I didn't mention that.
We skipped that, Ains.
Yes.
That was the worst cameo celebrity promotional appearance that I have seen since at least the Spike TV days. All right, I'm telling you that Joel McHale hosting was better than The Rock telling us about his various movies and drink paraphernalia. All right, so I just want to get that out front because obviously everybody that follows me on Twitter already knows I'm going to be a font of positivity during this video. But I want to get out in front and just say that was horrific, man. You're a goddamn movie star. Get it together, buddy.
The Rock, man.
You just took somebody's money for that bullshit. Come on.
Yeah, he's shirtless in his own gym at his house, promoting his energy drink. I was like, what? Okay, I get that you can get away with doing this because you're The Rock, but you know what I like to think? I got to be honest with everyone. I like to think it was Fast and Furious that ruined him. Yeah. I think that's what happened.
That's probably what happened.
Yeah, I mean, it's the only thing that adds up, really.
He just got out of the bath.
Your logic doesn't really hold together, seeing as you're saying he's bad now and he's not in Fast and Furious.
I have no problem with The Rock, actually.
Me neither. I think
he's a really nice guy. But we
haven't gotten to Fast and Furious.
Look, I don't blame The Rock because he was just he probably got asked to do that, right? It's like, oh yeah, we'll do it, and then he doesn't know the context of like the thing he's joining or like what the reception's going to be. He's too disconnected from it. So to me, if you're the producer of that show, you kind of read the room before you do something like that. And I just
that's excuse making. If you have any quality in
No,
your
it's not.
brand, it is excuse making. If you're The Rock, if you have a brand, if you're going to agree to something like this, whether your agent tells you that you agreed the day before or not, go have some goddamn pride in your work and your craftsmanship. That guy, he didn't even have a script. He didn't know what he was saying. No, forget it, man. Forget it.
That was like a Make-A-Wish or something.
It was the
Jeff
worst.
Keighley or something. That's the
I
agree. He didn't even have a script. He was like, enjoy your video game.
Why would you blame The Rock for that? The guy who probably
He's
just
the one
got tapped
putting
on
his
the shoulder.
face on the damn thing.
Yeah, but somebody said like, hey, come do this at my show. I won't make you have a script. You basically are making a cameo video for me. Like there's so many other things that I would blame way more than the guy who actually ended up on camera. So I just, it seems like a weird person to be mad at. Personally, like no one involved in creating the show or creating the run of show or anything.
I mean, if you would like me to talk about Jeff Keighley's many failings as evidenced by Summer Games Fest, I'd be happy to do so. But The Rock, he's a megastar. Just go have some pride in your work, man.
All right. We will. I think we all agree. I don't think I saw one person that said that was a great segment by The Rock. Like everyone kind of agrees. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the games.
All right.
So what are your thoughts on the overall Summer Game Fest show itself? Keighley's pacing, the conversations with a few of the devs, the game shown, etc. Do you feel this is more in line with what gamers and we as a community want rather than what we typically get out of the Video Game Awards?
It's hard to criticize any of these shows any given time on pure structure without dipping your toes into substance, right? Because the one thing I would say about Summer Games Fest is that Keighley didn't have a good hand. He did not have a good hand to play. He did not have a strong show to put forth. But the way that he did it, I have long thought for years that we have dived too deeply into what amounts to a YouTube playlist on a lot of this stuff. And I would rather see a little bit more interaction. For instance, after Summer Games Fest, Day the Devs comes on. I vastly prefer that. I vastly prefer getting an insight into where the game comes from and how this stuff happens, especially by the time we're talking about Midnight Suns, which is a card-based tactical game. And we get the 5th, 6th rock music. Hey, look how well we can render Marvel characters trailer. I'm not interested in that at all. And so there's all of these periods of time when you go through one of these video rolls where you get that kind of commercial aspect, and it's fine, but I can watch YouTube playlists whenever I like. And frankly, the industry puts those out every day. So I don't find that as interesting without a little bit more insight. And in terms of, you want to talk about structure. So you're Jeff Keighley, you're planning the Summer Games Fest. You find yourself in your hands with like 4 or 5 science fiction space station based horror games. Why do you put them all in like the first half hour of your show? You spread out the genres. We have highs, we have lows. That was the most annoying start to the Summer Games Fest I could have imagined. I really thought we were only going to have science fiction, zombie, alien, whatevers on space stations, in pits, in dungeons. And I would see an entertainer like Jeff Keighley, who I really do value as having the wherewithal to risk money and time and resources and put these things together, as being a little bit more focused on what the show is, and not just stand up there and introduce a YouTube playlist for me.
Okay, so I find that interesting, and obviously comments are I'm trying to keep up with them there. So we have heard in the past, what would you say, and I don't know, Travis or Dan, what you guys think, but we have heard many times, because I know we've talked about it on some past Xbox showcases, some Twitch stuff, etc., that there's a lot of people who prefer the state of play approach, the Nintendo Direct approach, where it's just trailer, which is, I think, what you're alluding to, Hogue, is that maybe you prefer a little more, I don't know if this is the right word, but intimacy with the games.
I like to get intimate with my games, Ains. I think that's excellent to say. No, but if you look at the versions of this, like I thought the Hogwarts Legacy one was vastly better. talking about how it came to be and what the plot line is going to do and what the various things you're going to do in the experience. And you can think of the state of play for that, for Last of Us Part 2, for Ghost of Tsushima. Those were better in terms of getting
so like the not the game. Forget the game right now. We'll come back to it. But like the Starfield presentation, where
Starfield was a much better presentation in what I want to see and what I want to see put up in a show.
Okay,
we'll go with that.
Okay,
I think you need both. Personally, sure. I think you need kind of the, hey, here's big announcements. Here's the stuff that is not just for the gamers, but also for the industry, right? The announcements, and for the casuals, I guess, who just want to see a 1 hour show where they figure out all the stuff that's coming out. Xbox is actually doing that this week. They had their big show yesterday, and then this week they're doing deep dives on some of their games. Yeah,
I heard that.
I think that's a very smart model, because it kind of lets you paint with two different sizes.
It's actually what fans have asked for a while.
Yeah, I think that's huge. But I think viewing the Game Fest as the former, as being just sort of a, hey, let's show you a bunch of games and low level. I guess my problem was there wasn't a lot that we didn't already know about, and then the stuff that we did know about, we didn't see a lot new. Okay. Right. They showed us a modified trailer of a trailer we saw like a week before that. Right. And, then we saw new trailers for games that we already knew about, but there was really very few instances where I was like, wow, I've gained new information that I didn't have before in some substantial way. And I think that to Hope's point, shows the weakness of the show, is they didn't have a ton of content to work with in terms of.
I think he had a rough hand. I mean, I think the developers gave him a rough hand. I think that I'm sure he would have rather had more stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe that has something to do with us announcing games too early, which is a problem I had, and something I think Xbox did right with the scope of their show. But yeah, I wasn't my favorite show. I did think the games that they showed were good. I'm excited for a lot of those games. I didn't have a lot of new stuff that I took out of it.
Yeah. Are we talking about substance? Because I want to ping Travis about what he's excited about from Summer's Games Fest. Is that allowed, or is that the next sequence, Haynes?
Well, yeah, let's do next sequence. So, Dan, what did you think of the show? We'll come right back to that, Hope.
Well, I mean, it was a Summer Games Fest. It's kind of what we've been kind of used to. I mean, and you guys are both right. There wasn't a whole lot of new content to the stuff that we've already seen, basically. The Modern Warfare 2 gameplay, maybe, but that also looked like the Modern Warfare gameplay from 3 years ago. So it's just like, you're not sitting here, blowing anybody away. With that being said, I'm kind of on Travis's side, how Xbox kind of did their live event, only showing stuff coming in the next year. That's kind of what I wanted. Knowing that, coming maybe next year.
I mean, it's their ambition, right?
Right. So, I mean, that's knowing that.
Next 12 months.
I hate lowering my expectations, but my expectations were right about there. Like, okay, I don't want to see stuff coming out in 2026. And, I think it was fine, but it wasn't anything that I was like, oh yeah, I'm super pumped. Like when E3, past 5 years maybe, it was always something like, even if I was sitting at home, I was just like, yeah, I'm ready to watch this. This is that time of year. You're excited to see some new reveals. We didn't really get a whole lot. And what we did was stuff, like Travis said, that we've kind of already seen. So it was fine. That's about as much good I can say about it without, bringing the negative Dan down on it. So it was fine.
I thought we were all in for it. But look at the difference, right? Look at the difference with E3, right? With the big show floor and whatnot. You could do the trailer rolls, which I still didn't love, but then we knew we were getting 3 days of journalists like Travis killing themselves on the show floor and not sleeping and going and playing things and having interviews and teasing out that information so that we got more of that detail. In this format, we are entirely dependent on what they deign to tell us. Even with Xbox opening up and talking about it more fulsomely this week, it's still going to be based on what they are fully in control of and what they want to share.
That's not entirely true, Hogue.
Okay.
So in this format, usually what happens is outlets get something called a brief, where they get told what games are going to come out beforehand and kind of what the announcements are going to be, and that we have time to reach out to those developers and ask them questions and do stuff like I did for Midnight Fight Express, where I actually was able to just say, hey, can IGN exclusively show off the game? Can you give us access to it? And they gave us access to the game. So I think we still have some ability to do it. It's just less hands-on because you're kind of doing it remotely.
Well, and you might be a bad example, Travis, on this. I mean, with all due respect,
because it's a bigger outlet.
You calling in and saying IGN would like to do something isn't quite the same as the swarms of people that could otherwise give various independent.
Agreed, 100%.
And that's not taken away from you. Go use the cudgel.
Yeah, I mean that's what I do. That's sort of, I feel like I have an obligation to use it because I'm one of the only ones who can get that access, right?
Yeah.
So
please do.
Yeah, you're 100% right that like it not being publicly accessible means that we get less out of it. Correct.
Yeah.
I just wanted to put
I'm the perfect example, right?
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Because I've been to E3 multiple times and we've done coverage for Season Gaming and videos and write-ups and stuff, which we're not getting the brief that IGN's getting, right? So we did that purely out of our own, to Hoag's point, just effort and time. And you would get that obviously across hundreds of little indie outlets, right? That you just don't get right now. It is much more curated, I think is the best way to put it.
You're clearly not getting that explosion of this is a week where we all focus on games, and we celebrate the love of games together. You're just not getting that. You're not. It doesn't. It's not. It doesn't feel like E3 week. It doesn't.
No, I think that's exactly why. And I know Travis and I, having the fortune of having been to E3, right? I know we've spoken about that before, which is, you see a lot of people online who kind of live in the Twitterverse or the social space in the gaming community saying, oh, E3's dead. We don't need it. We've got these shows now. And it's like, you're kind of missing there's a bigger picture here. And I think you're touching on that point right now. And I think after 2 years of what we've seen, and this year supposedly being the best, they've had 2 years to fine tune their approach to the Summer Games Fest, right? We've now lived through this. We see it again. It's still, to your point, not even coming close to the magic, for lack of a better word, of what E3 used to represent.
Magic's good.
I think that we're kind of proving the point that, look, E3 did serve a purpose for all its faults, for the ESA being what they are, and the faults that the E3 has. There was something special about E3 itself and what it brought to the industry.
Yeah, I mean, if this becomes a conversation of digital versus physical in-person conference, you're going to find me on the side of, I think we do need something like an E3, even if it's not like that, because that is super important and a healthy thing for industries to do in general. But in reviewing the digital event and the situation that we're at, having just seen a physical conference that didn't go so well, possibly because it was a little too close to the COVID situation, but because for those who don't know, when you're doing conferences, typically you have to commit a year in advance, right? And so a year ago, Microsoft and Nintendo were looking at E3 and going, should we buy a booth now, not knowing what's going to happen in a year? And I think that's a much harder call. If you were asked me to make that bet today, a year in advance, I'd probably be much more optimistic. So I think next year is probably a better return. But having just gotten back from a conference where they had to commit a year in advance and the show floor was pretty much empty, it wasn't. I don't think it was the time yet. This year is not the time. So
yeah. All right, so let's talk about some of these games. So I'll run these down for me. Here's my thoughts on some of the games. So Callisto Protocol is easily one of my most anticipated games. It's top 3 for me. I'm all over it. I think we talked about that before. It's cool to see Glenn Schofield out there.
It's very gory.
Some
might even call it visceral.
Wow. Well, yeah, that's
I like that pun. That was good, sir. Well played.
Nice.
But that one's big for me. I will tell you a big disappointment for me. It's Cuphead, of all things.
Really?
Did they show enough to disappoint you?
They've said enough afterwards. So if you weren't aware, they announced this, remember, 4 years ago, the expansion, right? And obviously, in the course of 4 years, similar to the first game, if you know the development of the first game, they took extra time and they made the first game bigger. They added a lot to it, the run and gun levels, another island, etc. So I think the assumption many of us kind of core Cuphead fans had was that this game, this expansion, this delicious last course would be bigger, right? They've had 4 years. They're adding to it. Well, they announced today that it is, or this week, I should say, that it's one island. It is $8.99 to buy, by the way, which automatically should tell you that it's small in content.
$10.
It's one island. It adds Chalice, the third character, and she brings extra abilities which make the game easier. So not only is the content not really there, And I don't care about the abilities making the game easier. That's great. Let more people play it. But my big thing is I waited 4 or 5 years just hyped for this expansion, and we're getting an $8.99 single island expansion that I'll probably beat in about 2 hours.
That's like
was
what
this
five
not known?
boss fights? Yeah.
I thought this was known at least as early as the Game Awards. When they had the orchestra up and they did the commentary after that, they talked about it being one island and Chalice. Like I feel like this was known before just now.
No, yeah. So that's why I was prefacing, right? That was known, generally speaking, the scope of it was known 4 years ago when they announced it, right?
Oh, all right.
But over the course of 4 years, you would think that the scope had changed. Instead, it's taken them 4 years to make a single island expansion, which is just disappointing. That's all. I was hoping for more.
From a non-Cuphead fan, is Chalice able? Can you take her and go back to the original game?
Yes,
and play?
You can play through the whole game with her. Yes,
fantastic.
It's all going to be one package. The whole
I think the Cuphead experience is a great business exemplar of why games aren't made the way this company makes them.
Yep.
I mean, I think that's honestly, it takes them this long to do those. It took them that long at the front end. It took them this long now. I don't know what else they're into.
They're a unicorn company because they can take the Rockstar time without that kind of money or backing, and that's not every company can do that. But they're a unicorn because they had a hit and they're a small team and people.
Well, they had a hit that they've merchandised the living hell out of.
Yeah.
And you're looking at the prime offender. I own way too much Cuphead stuff. Yeah. And don't forget, they have the Cuphead show on Netflix, which they've just announced season 2. So they've made their money. And they've done that. But again, we don't have to stay on Cuphead. My point was merely that the first game, if you didn't know, was in development for a very long time. It took extra time because they expanded the scope of the game when they had the ID at Xbox partnership with Xbox. And so you got extra island, you got extra levels, you got extra stuff. That's, I think, what many of us who have been following this for so long were expecting when they brought out Delicious Last Course finally. And instead, it was like, no, you still got the same scope you knew for about 4 years ago. And it's just like, oh, okay. Well, I'm still going to play it day one, still going to stream it, still going to love it.
But it looked good. What they showed, I was like, this is sweet.
Great.
Yeah.
It looks like Cuphead, and it looks like it's at the same level. So I mean, I guess I'm a little surprised, Andy. This just goes to show you that expectations are the real enemy of all these things. True. Because I looked at it and said, "Yep, that's."
Yeah, I was actually impressed. Like the eyeball popping and exploding and stuff. I was like, this looks even more Cuphead-y than the first. The core
really
game.
Good animation.
Yeah, I was really impressed by it. So.
I'm not Netflix show.
Yeah, I'm not saying anything negative about the actual content. I'm sure that the content itself will be amazing. So, and then of course for me, I'm going to let you talk about Midnight Express, Fight Express, Travis. Last of Us 1 for me is a greatest game of all time. I know people hate hearing it from people like myself. I will buy it every single time they remake it. We just blame you for the fall of civilization in the industry and the whole land. It's okay. Pretty much. So I pre-ordered the Firefly edition. I will get my Steelbook and $100 edition, and I will love it and play it again for the 5th time. So deal with it.
Last of Us is very good. I don't know that it's actually artistically improved from what has been shown so far. So we'll see. Technically, it's improved. There's no question there. But I would really
calling it a remake because it looks like a remaster.
Well, it's weird, right? It's definitely the Last of Us 2 engine, like the way that they made Last of Us 2. But it confuses you because it's clearly the recordings from Last of Us 1. Yeah. So you get this kind of halfway home, and it's really weird when you get I don't know whether I don't want to accuse them of this because I have no idea. It gives the impression that they dragged the models from Last of Us Part 2 into Last of Us Part 1. Like Joel looks 100 years older. Ellie looks completely different. And I really think that, okay, we're not going to get into this too deeply. From what they have shown, the Ellie model lacks a certain amount of innocence that I really connected with in the original way that Ellie was portrayed in the first part. And that's so important to what that story is. I'm interested if I feel that way more long term. Now, I'm not going to be paying up front for a $70 whatever, Sony. Get out of here with that crap. But when it's available to me, I will give it a try and see what it is.
So to give context, if you go on the PlayStation blog, they have detailed it a bit more. So it is kind of in the vein of Last of Us 2. They've talked about modernizing the combat and the animations and movement. So I think what people are expecting, right? Is the story and game, the story.
The story with the good gameplay.
Yeah, with the good gameplay, which for me sounds like a perfect addition.
I love how you said that the game doesn't have good gameplay, and also it's his favorite game of all time. That's really
we've talked about that before. The
Last of Us is
gameplay in
interesting.
Last of Us is not what makes that game great. I think if anyone truly believes that gameplay in Last of Us 1 is phenomenal, then
it's a stealth game with bad stealth mechanics. It is. That's why to me it's disqualified from being the best game of all time. It's a pretty good movie. Best game of all time? No.
Come on.
I mean, it's really just Troy Baker. I mean, let's just be honest with you, everybody, and he really brings it.
You're trying to bait me.
I'm trying. Did they re-record like the lines and everything? Because for me,
it's obviously
in my book, it is not a remake. It's a remaster. That's what it feels like.
It's a very fancy remaster.
And there is no $10 upgrade option. I've seen nothing.
No.
Kind of like the Uncharted. Series or whatever.
$10 upgrades.
There's a $100 upgrade. I think Ames just added.
Ames got the $100 upgrade. Yeah, that's
garbage. Guys. It had a steelbook, all right? I'm a sucker. We know this. Like, this is public information. I am a sucker.
You haven't seen his brick wall. Is it still full of the steelbooks, or did you change that around?
It is beyond full that I have stacks of steelbooks behind me that I can't fit.
3 versions, an expansion, and a sequel in 9 years.
I know, it's crazy. I know.
Get out of here, Sony.
I know. And like I said, there's only maybe 5 games that I would unequivocally buy repeatedly like this, and this is one of them. That's it for me. And the funny thing, now keep in mind, the funny thing as we discuss this is the Firefly edition sold out in like 2 hours. It's gone.
Yeah, well, we don't know how many they made, right? So I mean, like, that's good play, Sony. Nailed that marketing, but we don't have any idea how many they put out there.
Sure, but I would certainly bet this will sell millions of copies.
It will. Forget about probably 10 million.
The multiplayer, right?
The factions was also announced. Yes. Well, I mean, it's been announced for a long time. But it
we got our first look.
Well, they had to figure out a way to monetize it more, so they spent some years doing that.
That's probably very true. But they said, I know where you were going, Dan, and that's I was like, we're gonna Keeley says we're gonna peel the curtain back a little bit and show you our first look. They showed a piece of concept art. I was like, you're kidding, right? Like, this is what
Keely's reaction to that concept art reveal was the worst thing I have ever seen.
That was really wow. Wow.
I'm not gonna lie though, like watching Neil's face, knowing that all this stuff already got leaked, like when he's like, kind of got out there, it was gold. Not that I don't like.
Count as a leak if your own company.
I don't know.
Is that a press release?
But again, if we want to talk about structure of the Summer Games Fest, how can a remake or remaster of a game we've played 6,000 times in the last 9 years be your mic drop? Like I'm sorry that it was leaked. I wasn't expecting that to be the mic drop because it's Last of Us Part 1 again.
Yeah. Well, also the fact that it wasn't just their mic drop. We knew the game was coming. It wasn't even a surprise. We knew they were doing a remake of Last of Us 1.
Because somebody else was doing it and Naughty Dog pulled it back in-house. Like, there was a whole set of stories about this.
Yeah. It wasn't even a surprise. That's the worst part. It was a remaster and not a surprise.
Wasn't a surprise.
I honestly do think the format was all messed up on that show. Yeah. Like the games that they chose, and I think it possibly is just because they had a drought of content. We are certainly living in probably the year where we're seeing the results of the COVID era.
This
right?
is COVID.
This is COVID. That's what this whole year is. And I think that
2022 is dead. Long live 2023.
Yeah. So, and I think that, because we get a delayed reaction, right? The games that were coming out during COVID were always going to come out. There wasn't going to delay it that much. But now we're seeing the effects and people figuring out remote work and that sort of stuff.
But you're seeing a really cool thing because movies and games essentially swap places because movies had all their stuff hit up front and then we still got Ghost of Tsushima and whatever. And then because games take so long to make, this is the window right here. Yeah. Thankfully, movies have started to come back, so we at least get a little bit of culture, pop culture additions. Go see Maverick, folks. But 2022 is dead. I mean, like, I'll still play the indie games and whatnot, but like, it's gone. It is buried. It is done. When Microsoft puts up spoilers, Forza Motorsport Spring 2023, I say, oh my God! All right,
ahead of time too. Yeah. So let me pause here.
Sure, they never announced that game though, so not a delay, but we all know it's a delay.
Yeah,
It's the first Forza to release in the spring, isn't it?
That would be. I mean, there's been 7 of them, so yeah, I don't know if that's true.
Well, you haven't memorized the release dates for all
Yeah,
these
come on,
Motorsports?
man.
Yeah.
By the way, did I catch that
Forza
right? Again, I'm jumping ahead. I apologize. Is Forza Motorsport just called Forza Motorsport?
Yes.
Is this the dark and gritty reboot where we learn how Lara Croft became a race car legend? I mean, is that like?
I'm in.
Yeah. Actually, I would 100% be on that one.
All right. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead.
So let me pause real quick to say we have over 450 people live watching the show. That is awesome to see. What's going on, everyone? I know we're split across.
I can't do that.
We're split across 2 channels.
Too intense for Dan.
Just a reminder, like we said, we're simulcasting this one. If you enjoy the conversation and want to keep chatting with us, we are live every Sunday morning, typically on the Season Gaming channel. Please check us out over there. And if you are on social media, making sure you're following Season Gaming and the SG Bitcast account too. We have a ton of people who follow Season Gaming, but I don't think realize we have a Bitcast dedicated Twitter as well. So check those out.
Things.
Yeah, follow all the things.
By the way, like, subscribe, do all those great things, because that's how you tell YouTube that this is content that is good, so that they don't feed you content that is bad. We want to help you find stuff like this in the future. And if you like this kind of thing, YouTube knows you don't want another cat swimming in a pool video. You don't want, I don't know, extremist political content. You want people talking about video games and hanging out and having fun.
This is very true, because I logged into YouTube the other day on my Xbox, and Google does that weird thing where they're like, all of a sudden, even though you use them 900 times a day, they're like, we don't know who you are.
Yeah.
And it logged me out, and I got the generic homepage to YouTube.
Frightening.
It is horror. I mean, that I have Shudder that my wife and I watch horror movies on. That was the Shudder homepage is less scary than the homepage of YouTube.
You have no idea what's going on YouTube, people. You don't want to know. And the best way to close your eyes to that is to like and subscribe.
All right, guys. So we'll move on to the other shows, of course, because I know we're going to talk about Xbox for a while. Anything else on games like Saints Row? Travis, Midnight Fight Express. Give us a few minutes on that.
Yeah. Midnight Fight Express. So IGN had an exclusive on that, which I got to cover. Super awesome. They actually gave me the full game. So I played the full game. I can only talk about the first 8 levels though. That game is super cool. They didn't really hype this up anywhere in their trailer, but it's an extremely funny game. It like, just the writing is super silly and like over the top. It kind of reminds me of a little bit like Hotline Miami. That game's not as funny. Well, Hotline Miami 2 is super serious, but 1 had like a little bit of levity to it. And it's a very silly game where basically the goal is how cool Keanu Reeves, in John Wick can you be, and doing like sweet, just every room they just give you a ton of just fun things to interact with, like just lots of items that can be thrown or used as weapons or swung around, or trains flying by you at high speeds that you can push people into or smash their heads into as you fight them. And it's just a very fun karate game, basically. Like where the question isn't really, am I going to be able to beat these guys? It's how cool am I going to be able to look while doing it? And that's like the challenge, is like how sweet of a combo can I pull off? And it's very fun.
It kind of looked like, we grew up in the 16-bit era, arcade era, with a lot of beat 'em ups, right? Tons of beat 'em ups. And we used to love those. And it looked like the kind of beat 'em up game that I envisioned as a kid wanting in the future. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like just going around, to your point, smashing a bunch of things all over the place and having fun doing it. And it looks like a great time.
Yeah, it's great. So you can read my full preview or watch the video on YouTube for IGN. If you search for it, it should probably be the only thing besides the trailer that shows up. But it's super cool. I'm very excited for that game to come out and compete with you guys for high scores. Also, I unlocked my suit. So my guy's wearing a suit flying.
Oh, he's wearing a suit? That's awesome.
Yeah,
that is awesome.
You got to do that.
Of course.
Yeah, it's so good. They put you in all these weird scenarios. Like in one, you're on top of a train, typical like you're on a train, but there's a helicopter flying by sniping you, so you have to jump into the car train, and then as you're fighting guys in the car train, there's like a red dot flying past the window, so you have to time it right where like you're fighting and then like the bullet hits the side and then you jump past the windows and kill somebody else, and then just all these really like dumb over the top can you look cool doing this crazy thing levels. So yeah,
it sounds amazing.
Fun.
Yeah,
I still have to beat Sifu.
Yeah, it's a lot easier than Sifu. It's not as like focused on just mastering the skill set. It's more just sort of like, it's like drunken fighting style. Like you're just like throwing things and like trying stuff out and seeing if it works, and it's sort of chaotic.
Is there co-op, Travis?
No, I think it's a single player game.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Let's get to these super chats. A few of them have been sitting for a while now.
Super chats.
Super chats. All right. Game Positive. I love you all, but I swear to God, Hogue is going to trigger me today. I don't know what that acronym is, everyone.
Good luck and have fun.
Good luck and have fun. All right. Glyph.
Eric, thank you so much, man.
Have I triggered you yet, Game Positive? Yes. I probably haven't triggered you yet.
He sent that about 40 minutes ago.
We're having a good time.
Yeah. He's gone.
Thank you, Eric.
Yeah, Gecko Gamer, €5. Is the PC game also going to get discussed? There were some good games in there as well.
I watched that. Pretty interesting.
Yeah. There's a few other games we will mention from the other shows as well. Obviously, we can't do like a 5-hour breakdown of everything.
They showed a mod for Half-Life Alyx during that show, which apparently someone just made an expansion for that game, which is kind of crazy to me. But yeah, there was some good stuff at that show.
The modding community never ceases to amaze me. The stuff they do is absolutely incredible.
Talk about Starfield. Amazing. It's got full mod support.
Yeah, it's that game. Well, yeah, that's we'll get there.
Yeah. And Luke coming in hot with a $2 super chat. Hello.
Hi, Luke.
What's that, buddy?
You, sir.
Thanks, man. And Gecko Gamer with the $2. Like this is the second one? Gosh, he's all over the place. Yeah, for non-Americans, what was Spike TV?
Can I answer this one?
Absolutely. Yeah, go for it.
A monument to all our sins.
Yeah.
I was going to say an infernal hellscape, but sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you might want to. Why don't you say kind of what it was actually?
Oh, yes.
Gotcha.
It was the Mountain Dew of cable television channels, designed solely to have women jump on trampolines while presenting probably erroneous information about video games, wrestling, and rock music.
Was it a Turner? Is that one of the Turner channels, like TNT, TBS, Spike TV?
God, Spike was something else first, but it was something weird.
Yeah.
Like
it was just one of those weird channels where like you could get just super weird out there content on there. Like comedy shows that were too crude or inappropriate to show anywhere else would end up on Spike TV.
It's the main show of channels. I mean, I'm trying to get this in your head. Like, go watch a YouTube trailer for Spike TV Presents the Game Awards, and you will have everything you need to know about it. So you just go find one of those commercials and you'll be right there and you'll understand what Spike TV was.
Yeah, it was. They've said it. It was
the Nashville Network. I knew it was something weird. I was going to say Country Music Television.
Yeah, Nashville Network.
Big jump. Lucius with $5 super chat. Summer Game Says has no clout to ask The Rock for a second take. WB asked him to push for those games and he put in the least effort to do it. I think that's true.
Yeah.
What games?
Yeah.
He said, I'm also in Fortnite.
He was advertising his movie, right?
Also in Fortnite.
He advertised his gym, his drink, and his movie.
Yeah.
And he said, and you might know me from, and it takes him 10 seconds, Fortnite.
I'm sure he showed up because somewhere in Jeff Keighley's data, it said that people really like it when there's a celebrity appearance, and they were just like, here's a celebrity, and then that was it. That was probably
just go pay David Hayter his $10 on Cameo and have him come on. Get on a national.
That's what it felt like they did for The Rock. It felt like it was a Cameo, like a $50 charge.
Yeah, he was like, oh my God, I've got to do this, and then stopped mid-workout to be like, all right, let me film this on my iPhone real quick and send it over. That's what it looked like. Very interesting. Thank you, Lucius. Ruby in the house.
Rudy. Why is a hand-drawn and animated OG game disappointing? That is a lot of work.
Yeah. No, the game itself.
He wants more of it.
I'm a
portions are too
Cuphead.
small.
I'm a Cuphead fanatic. Like, I adore Cuphead, and I know, like, I've read the documentary. I've talked to people at Studio MDHR, so I know the game, like, and how much work goes into it. I don't.
You are serious about Cupheading.
Oh yeah, I've got literally on the wall right there. I've got a print from Studio MDHR. They only gave to 50 people for their 1-year birthday celebration. So I'm all about the game. Don't mistake me. I want.
Haynes has way more
of it.
Cuphead cred than I do.
Yeah, I want more of it. So yeah, it's definitely not disappointing.
Nice.
If it's anything but.
Another 10 years, you can get Cuphead too.
Stop it. And shout out to Ruby, by the way. She came by our Xbox Live cast when we did cast co-op, and she was hanging out and just said she's discovered us from Hogue, from you, and she's just been hanging out with us. So it's awesome to see. Thank you, Ruby.
Because it's awesome over here.
It's something over here. All right, Gio Rio. Or was it the Euros? I can't see. Okay, there it is. All right.
Every week, man.
The Last of Us. I'm assuming that's Last of Us 1 remastered version was boosted 60 FPS higher res. This one is seen rebuild with new renders, textures. When you watch the compare videos, it looks amazing. I'm really happy. Love to go back. I'm also going to go back and spend $60.
Good luck at 60.
70.
Oh, $70?
Yeah,
fantastic.
That's the pain tax they just put on you.
Yeah. I don't disagree with anything said there. It's just usually when somebody calls something a remake, they mean that they're actually remaking the game. Like it's going to have new dialogue and new scenes, and you know what I mean. Like it's going to be a new thing. Like the Knights of the Old Republic is going to be a remake. They're not just like making that game look better. They're going to do other stuff, I assume. So.
Yes, I bet that they are. But I have to say this: The Last of Us Part 1. Having played some games with Naughty Dog in the last 9 years, I could not be happier that they don't appear to be touching anything on The Last of Us Part 1 vis-a-vis speaking or narrative. It would only be a mistake. So
I agree, which is why I thought it was weird when they said they're making a remake of the game. I was like, really? They're going to touch that game? That's like painting over the Mona Lisa, right? But they're it seems like they're not doing that.
Nope.
They should have just called it a remaster. Honestly.
Yeah, but they need to use the word make to charge.
You're not going to
now.
Hey, they max out at $50.
Yeah.
Gotta get that 70 in there.
Gio, thank you, brother. And Gio, shout out to Gio as well. He's one of our newest patrons. Came over to the Season Gaming Discord.
Gio.
Patrons. He's hanging out with us all the time. He's a good guy.
Nice.
Ash had a good comment. Resident Evil 2 remake is a remake. That's a great example.
Yeah,
that game was actually remade.
Final Fantasy VII remake.
There you go. That's a remake. Perfect. That's what I would expect. So when they say remake, they're using a term. They should have just called it something else. They should have just called it "We want to sell it to you again" edition. I don't know.
Last was Part 1 Next Generation. I don't. It doesn't matter. You can call it anything.
Yep. Got a few more.
Man, we got a bunch of them. All right, Jazale, $10 super chat. I'm usually sleeping during the Bitcast. Just want to thank y'all for a great show every week. So am I.
Awesome.
So
thank you so much.
Occasionally, if you watch really closely, he can sleep with his eyes open in the top right there. Watch him closely.
He takes thousands of micro naps throughout the show. So
thank you so much.
See me like laying down there. There we go.
Yeah.
All right. What's the next one here? All right. Meb 2X. If you only get one, which game from the showcase?
I need a clarification as a lawyer.
Top one?
Which showcase?
Summer
Games Fest?
One.
Summer Games Fest, I think Saints Row is the default winner.
Yeah,
I would probably agree with you on that one. Yeah.
Really? Okay, I'll take it.
I can't remember all the games that were shown, but
they're literally in the notes in front of your eyes.
You think I have the notes up?
He thinks we're opening the notes.
Yeah, that's so silly.
You see what I deal with every week?
I got mine.
Callisto Protocol is the one.
No, that's
Callisto
good.
Protocol would be up there for sure. I'm with you on that, Ains. I really like that one.
That's legit too gory for me. That's not taking away anything from anybody else. You just have your proclivities, right? It's like it's a bit much for me.
Yeah, it looks intense.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Saints Row. Just looking at this list,
it looks great. I love the look of Saints Row. Meb, thank you so much. Don Lionheart in the house.
Man, $10 super chat. I don't know how Spike TV came up, but joining the stream and the first thing I hear is Hogue's description of it as the Mountain Dew of TV channels with women jumping on trampoline was glorious. I mean, and also accurate.
It's accurate. Yeah, I think it was a perfect description and what should be used going forward in all dictionary.
It feels
and
a little
resource
harsh
material.
to Mountain Dew, personally. I think.
Maybe.
Don, thank you so much. Don's always swinging by.
Very specific kind of drink.
Yeah, he's leaving nice comments and everything else. So thank you very much, Don. And lastly, right now, Zach
Frisch. Have you guys played Absolver? The combat mechanics to me were super innovative. Sifu is great as well. I'm a huge slow clap fan.
Absolver's cool, but it's like a first. I don't know. It's like a first prototype of what could be cooler. I'm looking forward to what they come up with next.
Yeah. I played like 5 minutes of Absolver, so I can't really claim to have played it, but yeah.
Absolver's cool.
I played a little bit. Very cool. And Sifu, I finished. I love Sifu. So yeah, great game. Slow clap is very innovative.
That was Devolver Digital too, wasn't it? Absolver. They usually make games with like really fun or silly combat, so
yeah.
Good.
What the hell have I done here? I did something bad, guys.
We're just permanently here.
We're all over the place.
Zach, you're permanently on the screen from now on. Appreciate you.
Sometimes if you pop off a comment and go back on, you can get that get rid of, or if you try to highlight a different comment.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you. See, Hoag's more
I've been in the StreamYard mines.
Yeah. I'm not used to this many live viewers. You see what happens? Too many comments.
It's not wrong. StreamYard can throw hiccups when it gets upset.
Yeah, it can. Thank you, everyone, though. Appreciate you so much. So, okay, the one thing I wanted to mention, which I think many of us thought would show up at Summer Game Fest, is we did not, over the past week, we did not see Hogwarts Legacy again.
Did not.
Which is, I don't know. That's interesting to me. They're still saying holiday, but they don't have a date yet. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, and Xbox did put up, they got their big pictures of games coming out. It's still on the 2022 label. Mm-hmm. So, the fact that Xbox highlighted it at all is its own interesting story. But I think folks we know that it's a Sony marketing partnership. That doesn't mean it has to not appear anywhere ever. If you think about it, you all often have the trailer pop up for the 30-second version and say, check out more at whatever. At the State of Play or Gamescom or later, but it didn't appear anywhere. So I would not, if you have a house, a home, a car that you love, just a nice set of comic books, I would not bet them on Hogwarts Legacy releasing in 2022.
Yeah,
we got probably
the same boat. Although December would be the perfect month to release that game.
It really would. We talked about that before, right? The holiday season is.
I'm not sure there's an imperfect month. The world is wide open if you can finish your interactive gaming product anytime this year.
God of War, anyone?
We got a couple funny notes.
God of War. No, I'm not betting on that.
Hey, rumor. I've heard recent rumors. It's November. I wouldn't be surprised.
I saw a Bloomberg report on that as well. If you recall what the Horizon Forbidden West timeline looked like throughout its development cycle, you will find right now in the year that it was applicable saying we're aiming for holiday. We think we're going to be able to hit that. And lo, it was February. So, I would get ready for God of War Ragnarok in your winter seasons 2023. And if it comes out earlier, be excited because we already saw how expectations can break a man earlier with Cuphead and Ains. So expect winter 2023. And if it comes earlier, well, that's my gift to you.
That's just a good way to live in general, but I've not read the Bloomberg article. This is just what I've heard.
Yeah.
Just that it's
and you want to talk about expectations killing a man. We haven't even gotten to Banjo yet. We'll get there.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, what was all the teasing me about Banjo all week? What was this about?
Well, this is just Ains's crazy hill that he chooses to die on every year, that he thinks Banjo is going to come back. But there were actually some rumors, but there's rumors every year. I never believe them. Yeah.
Oh, so you can see he's fallen over and dead here at this point on my stream. So
but I see the Persona Cat is happy. So
yeah, he's helping out. Just Jay asked, did Nintendo do a showcase yet? No, but it leaked this morning that they're planning one later this month in a couple weeks. So check out VGC. I think Alana Pierce, a few others mentioned that it's coming in like 2 weeks.
Like we could have leaked that. We could have just gone out on a limb and said Nintendo's having a direct at the end of June.
Yep.
It's like the easiest leak in the history of leaks.
G-Man said I was playing the stream at 2 times speed until I caught up, and now everyone sounds like they are speaking in slow-mo.
Oh. Yeah. Well, I can try to speak faster if you like.
All right. We have a winner of the first giveaway for 3 months of Xbox. I don't know why it came out of my mouth that way. Xbox. The winner is Robert Stanley. If you're still in the chat, hit us up. Let us know. Find me on Twitter. My DMs are open, even if you don't follow me. So just hit me up. I will get you a code for 3 months of Game Pass Ultimate. Like I said, if for some reason you don't play on Xbox, you don't want the code, any other reason, let me know, and we will pick a different winner to get it. So Cool.
Nice.
We'll be giving another giveaway here shortly, so stay tuned. And for now, we will move on to a couple of the other shows. Devolver was a really fun one. There was the PC gaming show. I know Gecko mentioned a few others. I'm going to mention a few games here, just for the heck of it. So in the Devolver show, they showed this roguelike coming, which looks amazing, called Cult of the Lamb. It's coming out August 11th. They showed a really fun game called Anger Foot, which looks hilarious. They showed a trailer for a game called The Plucky Squire, which blew me away. If you have not checked that trailer out yet, watch the whole thing. It's only like a minute and a half long, but check it out, The Plucky Squire.
He's very plucky.
He is. They showed Skate Story, which looks really interesting. And then we got a bunch of other trailers, PC gaming show as well. Some stuff like Invincible, which is a new sci-fi narrative game that looks very interesting. System Shock is coming to consoles. Has
that System Shock remake been being made for like my entire adult life?
Yes, it was a Kickstarter funded game that almost went belly up and then had a revival, and it's in development hell.
That's Night Dive?
Yes.
I think that's right. Yes. Jupiter asks, is Cult of Lamb coming to Game Pass? No. It is coming to Xbox, not coming to Game Pass. Same with Plucky Squires coming to all platforms. I know PlayStation promoted it and it only showed PlayStation, but it is coming to PC, Xbox, etc. But no, I don't think it's coming to Game Pass. But anyway, before we get to Xbox and Bethesda, I just wanted to stop and say, is there anything, other shows, other games, anything else during this week you guys wanted to touch on?
Well, like I said, I enjoyed Day of the Devs. Unfortunately, the names of some of the things escaped me. I was interested in, speaking of escape, they showed a team working through COVID that made physical escape rooms and nobody was going to them, and so they made a digital version. I'm interested in checking out. I love those stories from those particular ones because I feel more connected to the game that's being made. So if you are interested, check out those videos because they're interesting even above what game might come out in terms of output. I love that kind of stuff. But yeah, for the most part, indie games that are still a distance away that maybe aren't fully co-ed, you kind of remember them when they actually release. So I saw that one about the painting lady. I saw that like a year ago. Cool. But it's a lot of fun to follow those things, I think. So no, I don't think I've missed anything. Summer Games Fest was kind of a downer for me. But I did like some of the other stuff, and I didn't realize there were some of the other shows that you just mentioned. So I'll have some stuff to watch, when I next have free time.
Yeah, and sites like IGN, of course, and others have done good curations of kind of all this content from different shows. So I mean, there's a bunch of them. There's like 4 shows a day. In fact, the one guy I co live streamed the Devolver show with Indie Gamer. He was doing, I think he did like 10 or 11 live streams over the past 4 days. Nice. There's a lot of little side shows of things. So, definitely check all those out. All right, we're gonna get to the core of the conversation here.
Hold on, I gotta crack my knuckles.
Oh boy,
I have stretches. So to have a little fun before we start into the full conversation about the show itself and the games. Last week, if you joined us, we did a prediction, and we basically I took a bunch of the rumors and leaks and everything.
All got it wrong.
No, this is fun. Let me speak.
He's so excited.
Because I had to go back and I had to rewatch everything, right, and see where we landed and what our predictions were. And we asked all kinds of things: Fable, Avowed, Wolfenstein, Doom, all this stuff, right? So I know a bunch of you joined us last week and put your comments in, so you can let me know how you did if you calculated it. So here's the funniest thing, guys. So I went back, and obviously, as you know, we were mixed on our predictions. And by the time I got to the final one, which was Fable, which I don't know who said what about Fable, but by the time I finished that and I calculated everything up on how many we got right, this is not a joke, all 4 of us got 7. Which means not only is that cool that all 4 of us ended with the same amount of correct predictions, but it also means, hilariously enough, the only reason I lost is because I said Banjo would be there. And all of you said it wouldn't.
Dumb.
Well, that whole thing was weird because a lot of our predictions were based off of previous Xbox shows, and right out the gate, Xbox said this is not a typical Xbox show. We're going to show next 12 months, which that is not the MO of these big blockbuster showcases. It's like stuff farther down. So I actually like that change, but our predictions were so off. Like I was like Fable for sure, but if you were like it's a 12-month only show, I'd be like Fable not for sure. You know what I mean? So
there was some funny ones like Hogue. You said that Hellblade is a lock. We didn't see Hellblade.
The fact that Hellblade isn't planned for the next 12 months is interesting to me.
Yeah.
Period. That game's been in a bunch of shows.
Oh, I agree. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just
Probably saving it for next fall.
When I went back and actually looked at some of the things we said, it was quite funny.
It's not listed under 2023 currently, but I mean they were trying to limit that picture.
That's just to June. Yeah, it's through to June.
There was another one that you Rick and Travis were really big on, which was
sounds like us. We often agree.
Yeah, we're often.
Yeah,
it was the
Lockstep.
Might have been Avowed. I think many people obviously expected Avowed, myself.
Yeah, I thought Avowed, but again, if you told me next 12 months, I'd be like, absolutely not. So
I think I said no on Avowed.
Yeah. So, but anyway, it was a lot of fun. I don't know how anyone else did in that, but I just found it hilarious that 4 of us with all kinds of wild predictions all ended on a 7, and I was the only one who said Banjo would be there, and I literally said I'm going to say yes just to hopefully try and will it to be there, and yeah, I lost on both accounts.
Try to believe it in the dreamers, right? No, I definitely said there will be a monk's narrative story from Obsidian based on illustrated drawings of.
For sure.
I think I definitely said that.
Yeah, that was a crazy get. Good for you.
Yeah. No, I got full credit for that one, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. That was the accuracy of that prediction was uncanny.
Yeah. What can I do?
All right, so there's a lot of thoughts and questions I want to ask you guys because there's obviously been a lot of discourse about this show afterwards
too.
So I live co-streamed this or live reacted to this stream, and I'll tell you my thoughts as we live watched it. That me, Joe, and Luke shared, which was we got some good stuff out of the gate, right? Some big stuff, and you get through Forza and Overwatch 2 and stuff. And then you kind of had this, what I would call kind of down period in the middle of the show where it was expansions and it was kind of indie-based stuff. And I can tell you that watching it live, that we were saying out loud, like, this is disappointing. This is a show that I think most of the audience agreed, I would say. Last year, we all agreed that the Xbox show was awesome, right? 30 games. They crushed it. They did what they needed to do. They showed a bunch of stuff.
No way Hug agrees with that.
Well, I said majority, right? Most. So they come out this year, and we were kind of watching this, and we're like, and then, we get through it. We see some other stuff, and they get to Starfield, and Todd Howard comes out, and I'm like, this is it, guys. Like, Starfield, the end.
No way you're not finishing with Starfield. Right?
Yeah. So,
yeah, of course.
So then, I leave kind of like in my mind, and I don't want to throw numbers at it, but I leave with this kind of being a mid-tier, kind of decent show, but it didn't really blow me away. And then I go back and I take the past day to reflect on this, and I rewatch a bunch of the trailers in 4K, and I look at the discourse on Twitter, and there's obviously people up and down on the show. But I will say this: my biggest takeaway is that when you reflect on the show, and I go back right now and I look at the content they showed. The difference between kind of AAA content, right? You're talking your Redfalls, your Starfields, your Diablo 4s, et cetera, versus these kind of indie games we didn't know about ahead of time. And the audiences that they reach, how many things are coming to Game Pass, all these kind of nuances, right, to the announcements. And then you look at kind of these big tier announcements. Like I kind of understood the significance of the Riot Games announcement, but it didn't really hit me until I spoke to my son about it, who plays League of Legends every day of his life.
Huge.
And he put into context what it means for these games to come to PC Game Pass and have all champions unlocked in all these Riot games. Because I didn't know. I've never, I'm not a fan. And I was like, okay, that's pretty big. Now I see why people are saying this is a big deal. And then you think about Kojima being on the Xbox stage for the first time. And, obviously we didn't see anything, but just the mere fact of that. And anyway, long story short, after reflection and kind of going back through, I'm more positive on the show than I was initially. And I don't know. I don't know if I can say it's like the greatest show I've ever seen, but I'm definitely more positive than negative now. So I don't know where you guys landed after watching this. Let's give kind of initial impressions as I try to catch up. Hey, Naked HD is back. Good morning. I'm trying to catch up with Super Chat to make sure I don't miss any. So please go ahead and take it away.
I know the feeling too, Ains. Godspeed. I'm the opposite. I'm vastly more negative than positive. I mean, and just as kind of a framework, I can say that if we're just putting kind of our overall impression.
Sure. Just overall. Yeah. Right now. Yeah, we'll get to the games.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll do mine too. If I were rating it on the IGN scale, as I often like to put things in that scale, I would probably give it an 8 out of 10. Great. And And the reason for that is because it did a few things that I think every show should do. We should force them to do it, which is it focused on games we're going to be playing in the next 12 months. I am sick of seeing trailers 15 times. And yeah, to your point, next 12 months.
It's not guaranteed, but it's
they were playing fast and loose with those 2023s.
Some of these will
fast and loose.
Some of these will absolutely get delayed, but I think the ambition is there for this to not be super far out, which I absolutely adore. Every show should aspire for that 100%. And the second thing they did is that they focused on gameplay almost exclusively, which I would say is another thing that really bugs me about these shows, is when you're just saying CGI after CGI after CGI. Gameplay was the foundation of pretty much every demo they showed. And when they showed CGI, they stepped on it very slightly and walked away, or in Kojima's space, literally just had him talk, which was crazy to me. But, they focused on gameplay probably more than like 90% of other shows I've seen, which I think is fantastic. And the reason that it's not higher, because that's obviously a great framework, is the content. I felt that the content a little bit, some of the games they showed too early, personally. I mean, we'll get to which games, but I think they showed some games a little bit too early. And then I think that they, to your point, Ames, a little bit with the show of the flow of the show, they didn't pick the right times to do certain announcements and that sort of thing, and had kind of like slow periods. So for me, I think it's great. The games they showed looked pretty good with a few exceptions. The format to me is the number one highlight. 12 months, all gameplay. Nailed it. Please do that more. But yeah, there were some that I have more questions for, and I don't think they used their time super effectively in certain areas. But yeah, that's me.
Dan, you're on mute. You do this at least once a show.
At least I got to at least keep the streak going. So you're welcome. I'm pretty much on the same level here as Hogue. It was just. I do appreciate the format, and I really do. That's what all these shows need to be. With that being said, that
by
kind
format. Sorry, Dan. By format, do you mean the 12-month thing?
Yeah, the 12-month. And like Travis said, gameplay. I mean, that's what we want to see, right? I mean, and that way we don't have these super high expectations, but at the same time, that really kind of limits what you're going to see. Immediately right off the bat. But I understand why they're doing it. Excuse me. That being said, I'm a very, my tastes have shifted to very, very specific, kinds of games and what I play. And I don't go out and play everything a whole lot anymore. So generally it was fine. I can understand why people are going to be super excited, especially if you're subscribed to the Game Pass. I mean, there's a ton of stuff coming to it. So that's great. As far as like, how many games that I was like, yeah, this is going to be a day one for me. I mean, not a whole lot. So, but you know what? I appreciate the effort that Xbox put into this. I appreciate, the shooting for this next year, this next fiscal year to whatever, June 20, whatever it is, 23. I don't even know what year it is anymore.
June 30th, 2023, which by the way, is
so
year.
Yeah, their fiscal year. Yeah. So that's good luck. That's great. There's about, we'll get to the games later, I know, but like when Starfield hit, I was just like, okay, well, they really only need to release one game for me, and then I'll be good because again, that's all I really play. So
yeah, okay. So that was going to be my next question for you guys, and I'm trying to framework this a little bit because I know we can be all over the place with these games and everything else. So my next question was, and this is particularly for Dan and Rick, which is thinking about, as I reflected, I told you I reflected on the show, and kind of, we've talked before around coming into a show where you're showing 30 plus games, right? And it's like, clearly, I think we all, well, you can let me know if you don't agree, but I think the mindset should generally be, right? If you see a good 10%, 20%, whatever, about 4 or 5 games out of a show that really interest you, that's a good thing. And the reason I give that context is because as I looked at this show, it became exceedingly clear, right, that this show was probably the most I've seen out of Xbox that was aimed towards the audience they are intending to grow towards, right? The audience they're intending to reach. And by that, I mean markets that they are kind of mid-tier in today, right? Markets that they want to expand upon. There was obviously an Eastern influence in some of these announcements. making sure that these games, a lot of these games are kind of Game Pass focused, mobile focused, accessible and anywhere in their ecosystem. And you could tell that they really wanted to reach a breadth of player that stretched across every gamer, right? Whereas I think, Dan, keep me honest here, but I think there are people in the I don't like this phrase really, but the hardcore community that are expecting these showcases to be the big blockbusters, right? They want to have 15 AAA blow your mind away gameplay trailers, when what it looks like this was really focused on was not only the 12-month delivery target, but like I said, the breadth of experiences that you can get in the Xbox ecosystem, which, for better or for worse, means you're going to see over the course of 36 games, I think it was, 33 games, you're going to see 15, 20 maybe, that if you're a more narrow kind of gamer, you're going to see games that don't interest you.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's the narrowness. I think it's expectation. In my opinion, the reason PlayStation almost always wins with their conferences is because they don't follow the rules that Xbox just imposed on themselves, right? It's they aren't afraid to do huge blockbuster announcements and be like Shenmue 3 and then, not deliver Shenmue 3 for like however long it's been, right?
And then deliver Shenmue 3.
Yeah, and then Shenmue 3. So, they can do stuff like that, and I think that is what fans expect. So I think a lot of the disappointment online was these weren't the blockbuster announcements I wanted, and fair. But there's never going to be an hour's worth of blockbuster announcements that are coming out in the next year. So it's really a philosophical decision of like a strategy decision at Microsoft. All right, they want to show the next 12 months of games. Well, that's very different in the types of announcements you're going to get. You're not going to get like a logo of a huge beloved franchise. And the Banjos
you're not going to get
the
Fable teaser.
You're not going to get the Fable teaser. You're not going to get the new Banjo teaser if they're working on that.
Because you already got them. Like, this is bullshit. Yeah, Microsoft's entire modus operandi was here's a logo. It'll come when it comes. Here's a picture of a magic deer in a forest. Who knows whether that'll ever be.
That's Travis's point.
That's my point. Is that they have done that in the past.
Sony always wins because they didn't bind themselves. I got news for you. Microsoft wasn't binding itself when Sony was kicking its ass.
Microsoft was way less willing to do it, and in fact, Phil Spencer has said that he thinks that they do it too much. They announce games too early, and
they do it too much. But they were in the 100%. Game. They just were losing. They're going in a different direction.
100%. I mean, I agree. I just think that if you're a viewer and you've seen an E3 or two in your time, your expectations are going to be blockbuster announcements nonstop. And I think that Microsoft's strategy just the strategy was going to lead to disappointment, even if the games were great, because it's not the type of show that they're expecting. You've heard of most of these games. Now, if they stick to the strategy, 5 years from now, we'll be hearing about games for the first time through a gameplay demo. And that, to me, that's the gold standard. That's where we should be headed. I just think that this is a transitional period if this is going to be their strategy moving forward. And the fact that we knew about almost all these games we were seeing gameplay for was really the problem. It was the format.
I don't think they have the temerity to stick with it. So I guess I don't share your optimism.
You might be right, man. And I don't know. I think the feedback might be from this. Hey, we actually do like those blockbusters, so give us the logo. And if that's true, I will personally be disappointed because I think this is.
No, I like the shorter runway too, Travis. I do. I just don't agree with your thesis that's why Microsoft was losing, because they were engaged in it just as much as Sony. And the last couple of times Sony did a show, it was all for stuff that was pending. Like Sony's last big show was Ghost of Tsushima and Last of Us Part 2, and like those were games that were imminent when they did that show.
And but I think that happened because they already announced all of their other games that were super far out and that they didn't have updates for, so they had to focus.
I'm in large agreement with you.
I'm just saying, like, I think we're agreeing. We're just I take your point is well taken that Xbox wasn't losing because of that. I just think that PlayStation's style and flair for just like big blockbuster announcements has been more. They do it better, but
absolutely. Yeah.
Well, and they have, Square Enix is on their side for the most part, and Square doesn't care if you're alive when the game that they announce is released, right? Like they will announce whatever. They'll just go in an elevator and think, this could be a good game, and that'll go on their E3 presentation.
For sure.
So, I mean, like that's how some of those companies operate. I agree with you that I like the time frame. Now, I honestly, if I'm messaging in the background, I make it 18 months. I take the next calendar year. I wouldn't limit it to June. Because you can then talk about some holiday stuff. But
Here's
I
my
don't know.
rebuttal to that theory. I don't
Okay.
want to see it at the same. I don't want to see it at 2 E3s. That's why I think the year is good.
I guess I don't mind the early. I don't mind essentially a 2 E3 cycle, which is here's the thing. Here's a little bit of gameplay. Get excited, and then the next year is your big Starfield 20 minutes. Like I don't mind that structurally, but that's
fair.
I probably would have made it 18 months, but I have no problem with them saying this is new stuff. I do think it's not a long-term plan for them, to be honest, Travis. I think it's a result of Starfield and Redfall and grabbing things from what would have been this year and making it look a little bit more good. Ignore the fact that we're not going to say 2022 on basically anything.
Or if you do say 2022, no release date. That was crazy. We got that on
a couple.
Hollow Knight. 2022, no date. Yeah.
Well, I don't think Hollow Knight committed to 2022.
Didn't they?
I don't think so. Because I think they had a tweet that said we promised before June 30, 2023. I believe
you might be right, but there were a few that said 2022.
Plague Tale. The weird thing is Plague Tale did, and then they announced today they're coming next week with a new trailer and their release date.
Hell yeah.
Weird.
It's a weird time, isn't it?
It is a weird time. So let me also add this piece of context, because the thing I always like to see afterwards is other people's reactions, right? Yeah. So anecdotally, when we left Cast Co-op and the three of us all kind of were in agreement that this was kind of a good show, but not great. I was seeing the opposite online. And so if you take a few pieces, and this is all anecdotal, we know this, but Jeff Keighley, for instance, ran his poll of what you thought of the show. 110,000 votes right now. It's actually about to end in 15 minutes, funny enough, but 110,000 votes, and nearly 40% say A for this show.
That's crazy.
35% say B. So you're at 3/4 of the people.
Correct answer.
The console wars are real. I
B.
don't know what to tell you. The self-selecting audience of people that choose the Xbox Gaming Showcase out of the crew that operates the internet and Twitter polls is not a real life slice.
Shouldn't F also be 40% then?
No, because the Sony fans would never deign to look down from elsewhere upon their plastic box to another plastic box. My God, man.
They seem to come to our comments a lot when...
Well, I can tell you for a fact that the Summer Game Fest show got a lower rating. Like, I'm pretty sure it was like C's and stuff.
Right, well, it didn't have a plastic box endorsement at all, Ains.
He gave the quiz, which means that he already had all the people following him were his audience size, and even they said a lower score. B is the correct answer. Okay,
that's yesterday? One poll. But again, I'm
D dog.
You know, I've seen a lot of commentary that really enjoyed this show, and funny enough, I see a lot of commentary similar to mine, which is it's a show that gets better when you reflect upon it. I don't know if that speaks to what we said, Travis, which is kind of the pacing's a bit off. Some of the selection of where you play things or how you play them is a bit off.
I honestly think it's your brain adjusting to the fact that it's not the same type of showcase you've seen in the past, of like, there aren't going to be large blockbuster surprises. They're just going to show you what you're playing next 12 months. If you look at it as that, it does that job well. It's just, that's not what people go to the YouTube channel for. They want to see the big blockbuster announcements and the logos and the CGI trailers. And I just think that not being there is the reason people are like, well, I wasn't really surprised by anything. Well, there were no big reveals, you know? Of course there weren't. They're games we already know about. 12 months.
Okay, but I mean, understand, Xbox is getting bigger. It's gobbling up more of the industry. Ostensibly, these shows should be bigger than they used to be. And that was not. I mean, like, we have to start measuring our expectations around Xbox spending $100 billion to gobble up huge amounts of other shows. And we're not getting a comparative increase in delivery. I hope we do. But we didn't get that yesterday. And that's a part of my brainscape as well.
It speaks more to what we've gotten in the past from Microsoft and what people's expectations are, as opposed to, you know, what it actually was. You know, when you don't get, you know, that nice filet, you know, you're used to eating the garbage sirloin you get for $2, and, you know, then it's like, oh, well, this isn't too bad. It's a nice little strip, you know.
It's better than Summer Games Fest.
I think it was too.
Yeah.
You know, but I think people just, you know, you get to that point where I don't go to Ains's barbecue and have a good salad. I want exactly. Diego knows where I'm at. Yeah, I mean that's the thing, you know. But you know, but we're taught, or we're at this point now where we have to temper all of our expectations, and that affects how we think of these things, I think. And it's just, I don't understand why.
Because rule number one for Microsoft yesterday was, can we slap Game Pass on it? Right? Like, that's the difference in what Xbox's show is doing right now. That's why you get so much broader audience stuff. These are the things they've licensed and spent money on. The most important thing for them was to be able to say it was on Game Pass, because that's their product. It's not an Xbox. It's not Phil Spencer's jacket design. It is Game Pass as a revenue service. And so if they could put Game Pass on it, well, then bam, your indie game suddenly gets a seat at the table. And so that makes your show different. It just does. And I'm super excited about that Out of This World meets Eternal Darkness game. It's like, yeah, sign me up. Fantastic. That's what I want to play. But it's a different kind of show. And Game Pass label was by far the most important thing that they clearly focused on putting that forth in their show.
I think Game Pass and the breadth of experiences you can find on Game Pass, right? It's clear that they focus on variety here.
Well, I mean,
it's a huge variety.
That's part of the behind the scenes that goes into the show.
Of course,
right? Like, it's all part of one story.
There's a lot of factors playing at it. One is the expectations versus what Microsoft did in terms of the thing. There's also the fact that we just got done talking about how this is the year of the COVID effectively, and they probably just had less to work with that is imminent. Yep. So there's so many factors going into it. I don't know if we can really choose which variable is the thing that caused this show to be what it is, but we got the show that we got, and either you liked the games or you didn't like the games, and I find myself a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. What's that?
I said, you got what you got. Why are we even talking?
Right.
Yeah, no, I like that. Well, but to me, it's I can only judge what you show me. I can only judge what you give me.
So let's talk about the games. There's my
let's talk about the games.
Okay.
Because that's where the D comes from. Let's do it.
That's where the D comes from. Oh boy.
We could cut that out for a different phrase. That's for sure. Before we do that,
show me the D.
He said it.
Let's catch up on super chats, and I think I've caught them all. So let's get caught up here.
Yeah, Wendy's Cafe, $10 Canadian. Did you try playing Icarus yet, Hogue?
Wendy's Cafe, I have not yet tried it. I have been either streaming or doing law or sleeping. That has been my life.
Like the
but
Nintendo
I remember that you recommended it. I will check it out.
Yeah, what's Icarus, by the way?
Is that like the old Nintendo game?
No, it's
Kid Icarus.
No, it's not Kid Icarus. It's like a new Icarus, as I understand it. So I have to check it out. I have not checked it out yet. Yeah. You asked me the question. I have not checked it out yet. I was just explaining that to this lovely super chat.
All right. Zach back in the house.
Yeah, $5. As a caveat to remakes, let me take my revenge on Abby in Last of Us Part 2, and I'll rebuy it without question.
Oh boy.
No, that's the point, but screw that narrative.
Woo, the point.
I'd like to introduce
I have a couple of hours on that on my channel you can check out.
Zach, thank you, and I agree. Moving on, Detective Seeds.
Detective Seeds. I agree. Just coming in, so sorry if this has been asked. Do you have any concerns of how the Xbox Series S, not X, will handle Starfield and the mass amount of on-screen frames is going to inevitably have?
We haven't gotten to performance of Starfield yet.
We haven't gotten to performance of Starfield, but to answer the question, because I think they're worried about the S versus the X, assuming that the X can handle it, the S will be able to, because
the S is a magic box.
Yeah, the only difference between the two is one plays 1080p, which is much easier to process. So if the X can handle it, the S will be able to. That should never be a question. The question is, can the X handle it? Can either console handle it? Was the game developed well for the box that they built it for? And I think that's a separate conversation.
I can answer that very easily.
Oh,
Bethesda.
Oh,
Bethesda,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, they went out with what they went out with last night. So
yeah, we can talk about it.
And by the way, Detective Sees, no need to ever apologize for asking a question, my friend.
No.
Thank you. Appreciate the super chat.
Fat Boy Horror with the £5. The Plucky Squire looks like the dog's proverbials. Man, looks so good.
It does.
Is that an English thing?
It does look great.
Yeah. He said the English thing in a nice way is what he did.
Yes.
So thank you, Fat Boy. Appreciate you.
Gecko, back again. I was hoping that the death of Babylon's Fall would be announced with an Xbox launch without Game Pass. That poor game.
There's like Fall. One concurrent player or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's still hanging on for dear life. We'd have to. Someone might want to check on him. Thank you, Gecko.
Somebody asked, "What is Babylon's Fall?" That's my favorite comment.
It's the definition of send out to die.
And all we say to that is move on. You don't want to know.
Mm-hmm.
Chaos
Actual. Yeah, $5. David Jaffe tweeted today and said he heard from a pal at Sony that God of War is now no longer locked in and is to be determined.
Weird, David Jaffe, and I do interact with you, but yes, you going out solid as it's definitely November. Come on, man.
Yeah. Big mistake. Nothing is solid. Right
Nothing's solid. Even games that have gone gold, we now know can be moved because that has happened a few times.
Yeah. I
hate that because Gone Gold Day is usually like finally this one's real.
Yeah, no, we've seen games go gold and then get delayed, which is unbelievable.
I don't even like that terminology anymore. It doesn't fit with today's.
It doesn't fit with the current. Yeah, it's like
okay. Well, we can come up with a different term, but I do like a this date is real lock in.
Of
like
course.
6 weeks in advance.
We should call it 1.0. That's a better.
But as we know, right? Like I mean, Gone Gold was from when they used to press the disc and then it was done, right? That was it. If it had bugs, it had bugs, and that's just not the case now. You know.
Now you press the disc and go, well, we got to finish the other 75% of the game that's not on the disc.
We now have a month. Go.
Yeah. Don Linehart.
Another $5 super chat. Do we really believe all or even most of those games are coming out in the next 12 months? I certainly don't. Lucky if we get 50%.
Okay, that's an over exaggeration. 50% is way too. No, it'll probably be 75%, 80%. That's
I'd have to do a count.
Yeah.
I do believe, I'll say this because there's too many games to pick and choose between here, right? I do believe that we will get the big games. By big games, I mean Redfall, Starfield, Forza, Diablo 4 before July of next year. I do believe.
I agree on Forza.
I can see Redfall getting pushed. I think
Redfall's getting pushed, and I hope Starfield gets pushed. But we'll get there, folks.
Don, thank you, man.
The Shroom King, $1.99 super chat. We don't need a 90-minute show of AAA. 3 and 30 will do.
Hey, that's what you got. You just have to find your 30.
Yeah.
You can piecemeal it afterwards with individual.
Yeah, timestamp that thing.
Who cares about AAA? I just don't. I do.
Okay, but all right, Travis. All right, God.
Who cares about games AAA? I just want to see
big blockbuster games with a lot of resources behind them. It's not a thing about like what.
No, I know what AAA is. I'm always like curious why people are like, oh, it has to be AAA for me to care. And I'm like, that doesn't mean the game is good though if it's AAA.
Okay, because you just spent hundreds of dollars on a box that was really only used for AAA. Like you don't need that box for non-AAA. Okay, like that's where it comes from.
I personally need that box to play non-AAA. Yeah, I don't know about you.
No. It could have been played on a PlayStation 4. You could play Rogue Legacy 2. How many generations can you go back and play that game? If you bought a specific plastic box, it is to see some shiny things thrown at your eyeballs.
Rogue Legacy 2 has a next-gen, current-gen exclusive version. So I don't need to play it, but I mean, it's an indie game that has a version.
Moving on. I'm going to go ahead and jump in here and say moving on. By the way, we just crossed 500 live viewers. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us. It's awesome.
My anxiety is going through the roof right now.
I prefer indie games to AAA is the weirdest part of this fight. But like, it should not be a surprise that people want to see their boxes do something.
Do something. Pokes it with a stick.
With you, man.
Yeah, my point is you can see your box do something in an indie game that's not AAA, but yeah, whatever.
Yeah, foul Rocco. Whoa, Lowell. I'm new here. Hi, Hogue. I don't have room to talk about games because all I play is Fortnite and Diablo. Nice. But the Necromancer announcement had me shouting.
That's good to hear, man. That's good to hear. I think I tried to. I was having this conversation with some other people that the Diablo community, which is tens and tens of millions of people, when they showed. Like in Xbox's live stream, it was weird to do like a 2-minute trailer just for the Necromancer. Again, it goes back to kind of placement, but for those people, that's a huge announcement. So that's cool.
I literally thought it was somebody ripping off Diablo, like literally as I'm watching the trailer.
Well, I said it was Diablo first, and then the longer the trailer went on, I was like, maybe it's not Diablo. And then
Me too. And I'm a hardcore Diablo player, and I said the same thing. I was like, okay, maybe it's not Diablo, but yeah. Anyway, Wendy's Cafe back again.
You can come play with me. I'm going to stream it live over on Twitch later. It's a co-op game. Icarus.
I'll tell you what, I will check it out. But I have to get off this stream and do a bunch more things. But I will look. I will see if I can find your stream.
Awesome. Nice. Thank you, Wendy's.
And Foul back again, not to mention the mere fact of Diablo 4 on Xbox.
Yeah. People forget. I know it's been a decade, of course. People forget that Diablo 3 launched on PC only and was about a year and a half, 2 years before it came to console.
When it came to console, it was like worst on Xbox. I remember that. Remember all the frame rate captures and
when it was 360 and PS3. That's how long ago it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a big deal when they said they were hiring folks to try to figure out the UI solve, which I want to give Blizzard credit for. The Diablo solve is fantastic.
It is. I actually prefer it on console now.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, Geo back again. High on Life surprised me and looked finished.
A lot of people.
We haven't gotten to talk about games yet, but I'm excited about that one.
A lot of people talk about this one, so let's do it. Let's get to the games. So, all
right, Fortnite Vampire Edition. Let's start.
Oh boy.
Oh man.
You're killing me. You're killing me.
Not even the same genre.
Dude, man, that entire art style and like approach to like edgy but not dangerous is Fortnite all over.
I
know. Like, oh my god, are you going to tell me Redfall is not inspired by Fortnite in terms of artistic design?
I mean, I don't know about the artistic design, but as a game, it's completely different, and the tone is also different. I played a lot of Fortnite. The tone is pretty, pretty different.
They open with Redfall.
No, let's start with Redfall.
We can't even talk about this now. It's clearly inspired by Fortnite.
I mean, okay, but go ahead and use that as a proxy for it's a bad game, but then actually tell me why you thought it was bad beyond that.
I thought it had performance issues. It didn't sell me on the overall game. I have no idea what the meta is. The gameplay, gunplay itself didn't look great, but that's never been Arcane's strong suit. And then it says it's following along the lines of Dishonored and Prey. I didn't see any of that at all.
Okay, great. So let's talk about those things and not whether it looks like Fortnite, because it's a
but
stupid
art matters. I mean, it's an audio visual medium.
Okay.
Okay.
I was waiting for you to say something. So, Redfall. If you're not familiar, first of all, a couple things. Footage was on Series X. I do like that Xbox specifically called out that Redfall, Forza, Diablo 4, a few others were Series X footage, not PC. I'm just going to put that out there. Redfall, if you're not aware, and here's one of the things with showing big games at a showcase, right? I'm a huge Arcane fan. I've been following Redfall for a while. I did an article on it a little while ago. To Hoag's point, if you're someone who doesn't know Redfall and you see this presentation and you look at the gameplay, which, by the way, I really liked. I love this presentation.
Okay.
But outside of that, right, it didn't speak to, it was a pure action presentation. It showed nothing but just action combat, which if you know what the game is and even read the blog on Xbox right now from yesterday about this game, all the details they talk about in that blog were not shown or even hinted at. So
I have not seen that blog, to be fair.
It's a single player narrative driven game that can be played in co-op. There is a dedicated island that is built, hand built, not procedurally generated, right? That is built in the style of the Arcane. Jeez, I can't speak today. Arcane games like Dishonored and Prey, where it's very explorative. It is loot based. So there is a lot of looting aspect and character building in this, similar to Borderlands. So this is a much bigger, deeper kind of experience than I think people are realizing from the gameplay demo yesterday. Putting that
why didn't they show that?
But so here's the question, right? If you want to show all those things, then you start to get into how much time do they spend on Redfall, right? Because
but you already bookmarked it for the beginning of the show. I mean, that'd been a perfect opportunity to
It's first and last. It's not one of the mic drop spots.
Yeah, but that didn't answer the question. So you're saying that you'd prefer them to have spent 10 or 15 minutes on Redfall?
Oh, I prefer a better presentation. It doesn't have to be 10 or 15 minutes.
I would say, better. Yeah. I mean, I didn't know any of that stuff. I mean, but that's, from what they showed, it's just, you don't get all of that information. I mean, yeah, I understand. I mean, they showed a crap ton of games, but, PlayStation used to do that one show where it was like a live or whatever, where like they just interview developers. I'm not talking about going in something like that deep, but if you're going to bookmark your big show for the year, go ahead and put an extra 10 minutes on it, especially if it's that big game that you want to showcase. You obviously put it there for a reason, just like Starfield had like 15 or 20 minutes, I saw it was, I think the way they presented it, it just didn't give enough. It still looked good. I didn't say it was a bad game or anything. It's just, I would like to see more of that game.
Okay. So do you think, and these are honest questions, I'm not countering you. I'm just trying to understand, because this is what I love about this conversation, because I've been on Twitter nonstop since yesterday, and I've had so many conversations about these shows, and I love hearing. No, I honestly enjoyed the perspective because everyone seems to have a different perspective on what they enjoy. Even on the four of us, we have a different perspective on what we enjoy. And chat is popping off with, all kinds of different perspectives, which I am reading, by the way, as we're talking. So the question is, we've heard before, Dan, to your point around why don't they do a second show after the showcase where they kind of go deeper on some of these games?
They are doing that.
Why do it a week
Oh,
later?
you stole his thunder, Travis. Ains wanted that to be the end of his sentence.
You guys never let me finish sentences.
That's what we're about, Ains.
But my point being, right, what if they come out tomorrow with a couple people from Arcane, right, and they say, here's, we showed this starting our showcase, but here's more of what Redfall is, and they spend 20 minutes on it. Does that then satisfy?
Yeah, that'd be fun.
That they should have changed how they do it in the showcase, or does that satisfy kind of what you're looking for?
I mean, it'd be fine. I don't think it changes what the showcase was, right? I mean, that is what it is. I mean, I think you could have added a little bit more. At the same time, they also were showing so much, so many games in a small, 90 minutes. So, I mean, they did what they had to do. But, or even right at the end, just say, hey, we're going to have more. We're going to talk about this a little bit more tomorrow or the next day or whatever. Or after the show, we're going to have like a more expansive, dive into what it is. Just do that. I mean,
I don't know
if the substance is there, Dan. I mean, I honestly don't.
I don't know.
We're guessing as to whether or not it's going to look better if you talk to us more about it. I don't know that that's the case. You say you love the way it looked. I say it looks like Fortnite. I mean it. And I think people are getting confused by, the Battle Royale. I mean that it looks like how Save the World was presented back in the day with the kind of hip, glib comedy with people with writing on their neon painted guns, fighting cartoon monsters of some kind and escaping around an island environment. Like, to me, it is inspired by Fortnite, and it's not my favorite part of Fortnite. And I didn't see good gunplay, and I didn't see good action. And if it's a single player game with loot, I didn't see any of that. So that doesn't necessarily draw me to the game, but I have no idea. And I'm coming off a Deathloop, which admittedly is a different Arcane. I know this, but I think that was the most overrated game of the past 5 years. And I really didn't enjoy that. So here we are sitting at a game from a company who made one of my favorite games of all time in Prey, from the actual branch office that made that game. And I say, man, I wish this were Prey 2.
Yeah, I'm with you on there. That's the other thing that worries me about the game is Arcane, for me, has always been more about that story, the lore, the stuff that you can find. And maybe that's going to be in this game. I don't know yet because I don't really know too much about it, but it's just, that's scares me a little bit. I'm not a huge co-op guy either, but you can play it in single player. So that's great. So there's still a lot to be asked about it, I guess. I don't know really what it is yet.
Yeah, so that's my take on it. I'm not gonna try to tackle the Fortnite thing because that's a silly argument. I don't even understand really what he's going for there. But I will say
it anyway.
I mean, I have to address.
No, I mean, you can disarm it because you can't.
I'm going to dismiss it because it's so dumb. But anyway,
we'll see what the reviews say when the game finally comes out.
So that I will get to because I'm a reviewer, as you know. So I will say that my biggest problem with the demo, because I thought the art, the world, the stuff, it looks like it's going to be a fun game, right? Or I'm down with the style. My problem is it didn't really show me what the game is like in a more substantive enough way, I thought, right? I like the silly over the top powers, like the phone booth and the other character sliding into it and flying up in the air, and the silly kind of like over the top combat. But there sort of wasn't enough of that. It spent a lot of time at the beginning making it look like it was going to be like a survival game with like jump scares or something, and then it sort of like switched in tone. I just don't think it was a strong showcasing of the game, and that makes me wonder: was the demo just bad? They should have focused on something else, or does the game need work? Did they show it too early? To me, for my trained eye, it looked like they maybe showed that game just a little too early. It doesn't look like it has enough of an identity as a shooter for me to like get super excited about it. But as a proof of concept in terms of the world, over the top co-op shooter where I'm slaying vampires. Thank God it's not zombies slaying vampires. I'm okay. I'm okay with that. Yeah, I mean. Vampires are much better than zombies, and in terms of diversity, I'm kind of sick of killing zombies. But I'm interested to see more about it. I don't know if it should have been their headliner. I think the demo was a little weak, but yeah, I'm interested to see more.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to. It's fun having the conversation for me and listening to you guys because I'm trying to gauge. Obviously, like you said, we each have different expectations, and Chad and everyone joining us as well. And I'm just trying to gauge, like, if I'm sitting in the room creating this show, there's always a balance, right? And it seems that if your goal is to present 35 games in 90 minutes, and you're going to spend 15 minutes on Starfield, right? How do you show this game and all the nuances and mechanics and kind of systems in it effectively?
But you put an artificial cap on yourself, right? Nobody made you have 90. Could have had 120. Most of your shows have been 2 hours.
Sure. Also, they spent a lot of time, like, the pace is another thing. If you're trying to show me what it's like to play the game, it's curious to me that you would spend so much time in the single player, walking up the ladder and kind of exploring creepily, and then to shift in tone in the second half. And so I left the kind of thing, the demo going, okay, so you can play it single player, but it's meant to be played in co-op, but there's still fundamental parts I don't understand. Like, I would have liked it more if maybe they showed smaller gameplay clips that highlighted different parts of the game, maybe with voiceover to kind of talk about skill trees and loots and stuff like that. Because I still don't have a understanding of any of that stuff. And they could have done that in a lot more effective of a time. I feel like they took a slower pace to it to show longer clips of gameplay. And that just I don't think that was the strongest choice for here's the first gameplay reveal type of thing. I think they should have done more explaining, I guess.
Okay. Fair enough. Just want to shout out again, anyone. We've got how many people here? We've got over 300 over watching on Hogue Law. We are here every Sunday at Season Gaming, if you want to check that out. But great to see so many people hanging out with us today, man. All right, we moved over. Right after them was one that leaked ahead of time too, which is Hollow Knight Silk Song. So that's coming to Game Pass. Now, obviously this is more of an indie game. I put up a tweet yesterday that showed some context. So if you go back to the Xbox channel and you look at the individual videos for each of these, right? Within 2 hours after the show, each of the games had about 5,000 to 10,000 views on these individual videos. Hollow Knight was already at 100K.
Yeah.
I would have thought about leading it. I would have thought about leading the show with Silk Song on Game Pass.
The excitement for this game and just knowing that it's coming, and now of course launching on Game Pass, is amazing. So that was cool to see there. Weird that, again, I know someone said it earlier, weird we didn't get a release date still though.
That is really my only complaint, is that we didn't get a release date even with the 12-month thing. But I will say that game looks perfect. It looks amazing.
It looks great. It looks great. Yeah.
Then we also, whoever was playing was super good. I was like, damn, that was like a super advanced move right there. Like, I don't think I'm going to be this good when I play it. But yeah, it was cool to see.
Then we got High on Life. Squanch Games, creators of Rick and Morty. This was obviously a very unique looking title, kind of as crazy as you would expect. It looked like a lot of fun. I'm kind of big on this one. I mean, I wasn't huge on it, but after I'm like, oh, that's a game I will definitely check out. What you guys think about this?
Awesome. I know Hogue is quote over the. Here's the thing.
You just can't read my tweets, man.
I saw your tweets, and I'm preempting your arguments. So, in fact, all my notes are just here's my counter to.
This is an ethical breach,
sir. You made the materials available to the court in advance. Of course, I was going to make my arguments around it. But here's the thing: you might be over the comedy style or whatever you think, but there are not enough comedy video games. Borderlands has been carrying that for a long time, and some of their games aren't that good. So if they fail, then I've got to deal with the Postal 4s of the world, which are nightmares. And so
look, I'm very sorry for your trauma.
Because I really, really like comedy games, and there just aren't enough of them. And so this is a unique game, unique premise, unique art style from accomplished creators, but they've not done a lot in this space. And so we're gonna get to see that, and it's a comedy shooter. I love this genre, and we don't get it enough. And so this was a big surprise to me. And the fact that it's coming out so soon, I was like, what? Heck yeah, I'm going to be playing that this year. So I'm excited for it. Again, if I have any notes, it is that I still don't really understand what the game is like. But if the idea was to explain kind of how the game will feel playing, they accomplished that. And I'm super down. I want to see what this game is. And I trust the writers quite a bit, because they're obviously comedy pros. So
I actually feel like I shouldn't even be speaking on this game, because there is a 0% chance I will ever download or turn this game on. But whatever Travis just said about trusting the writers is the exact opposite for me. I have found Rick and Morty to be wanting for a long time now.
Really?
And I really can't honestly stand that guy's voice. So we can proceed on from there.
All right.
That game's going to be good. Mark my words. I have a feeling.
Enjoy, Travis. Have a great time.
I will. Damn it.
And you can't stop.
I'm not going to take anything away from you. Have the time of your life.
My problem is it's such a cynical take. Oh, that's my problem with your take there. It's like,
I saw enough. If the trailer is designed to tell you like what a game is like, that damn gun talking to me for 10 seconds was enough. I'm out.
All right. It's just, yeah.
I mean, I think it just screams, hey, I'm glad it's on Game Pass so I can try it out for people that haven't. Yeah, I mean, I think that's what I think of it. But I'm not a big Rick and Morty fan, so there's that.
There you go. But we again, this is one of those perfect examples, right? We know there are a lot of Rick and Morty fans, so this is one of those examples where it's probably just not for, no games for everyone, right? Right. Then we got the Riot Games agreement, which I don't know if you guys want to touch on. This didn't do anything for me, but it, the more I've read into this, the more I've looked it up, etc. This is a big deal.
Which one?
I think so.
The Riot Games.
The Riot announcement. I think I said
it's a big deal.
I think I said Microsoft is spending some money, is what I said to that. It was my response to that.
The funniest thing, I don't know. There was a is it Brianna? I forget her last name. Like starts with a D on Twitter. Who was a project manager at Xbox and pretty active on Twitter. And she left Xbox like 3 months ago and went to Riot Games yesterday. She tweeted, she's like, I can't escape. But anyway, this is so all 5 of their games. Well, it's 4 and 1 mobile game, as I understand it, coming to PC Game Pass. The key thing here is that when you play them through Game Pass, all of the champions in League, all of the heroes in Valorant, etc., are unlocked. So if you didn't hear me, or I don't know if I said this on the show or earlier, but I talked to my son about this, who's a big League of Legends player, and I'm sure there's some in the chat, so please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. I don't play it. He has over 800 hours in the game. He told me last night there's over 160 heroes in League of Legends, 160 characters. He has played for over 800 hours and only has less than half of them unlocked. So there are these there's a procedure you have to do to unlock the heroes, like a lot of
it's
these
like Destiny level of monetization.
It's way worse.
and
it's a free game.
It's a free play game.
It's a free game though, so it's kind of allowed to be disgusting, Anyway, sorry.
Yes, do you have anything to say? Because I can keep talking if you don't. I mean, just to cover the dead air here, I'm happy to keep doing it. No? All right.
I'm going to mute you. I'll mute you.
You have the power.
So then I asked him, okay, if you were to buy these heroes, which of course you can do, how much are they? And he said, well, it'd be somewhere around $5 to $8 dollars each. So do the simple math on 160 heroes and keep in mind, right? This is just League of Legends. That's not Valorant. That's not, I forget what the other games are. I'm sorry. So long story short, basically, if you're on PC Game Pass, you're getting a ton of value if you play these games that for far less than if you were just to play them in their free to play current state.
Yeah, this is like hundreds of dollars of content, and most LoL players that I know personally, they play whatever free characters they have, and then every week it switches out which of the paid characters become free. And so this is huge. Just to be clear, in case there was confusion, this does not mean that these games are coming to Xbox. I don't think they are, and I kind of don't think that they should. And they should in many cases. I don't know that MOBAs work particularly well on console right now, anyway. But it is an enormous get for Game Pass, and it's going to drive subscriptions probably more than anything else they showed in the show. Weird way to say it, but yeah, I think it will drive a lot of subscriptions.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't do anything for me, but again, context. This goes back to what we were talking about, right? They're trying to reach this audience that touches everywhere, and this is one of those announcements that's kind of over here. It does nothing for me, but someone somewhere, or tons of players, to
lots of people.
Lots of people are like, holy crap, I can unlock all of this just by subscribing to PC Game Pass for $15. All right.
But that's the two minds, right? I mean, we can evaluate it as that's a big deal for Microsoft and they spent a bunch of money, but I don't think we should ever get caught in anything other than analyzing that on that kind of framework. We don't have to sit here and say that's a big deal to us. I don't think, I think it's easy to get into this thing. Well, I'm rooting for Microsoft and it's a big deal for them, or corporate bankrolls or whatever, and it's a smart deal. It's totally fair to say this is part of the reason this show doesn't work for me. Is that I'm thrilled that you spent all those resources. Wish you would have made something that I would have cared about more. And so, here we are now, a good way through the show, the first third of the show, and I got Rick and Morty yelling at me. I got a Vampire Fortnite game. I got a Riot announcement. And thank God I got Silksong, because that's all that you're basing anything on for me for 30 minutes into your show.
Yeah, I think if you obviously everyone's got to evaluate the show on their own personal preferences. But if your entire personality is narrowing your personal preferences into as narrow a possible sliver of optimism, then I think you're probably not going to align with most people's impressions of what they thought. So.
Travis, my man, I probably played more games than you have in your entire life.
I would be willing to take you up on that, because I think you're wrong.
Fight!
I'd be willing to take you up on that. Even
I need a little verses in between the two windows, like a little Street Fighter 6 verses right there.
I told my kids about this morning. I was under the impression that like maybe Valorant would come to Xbox Game Pass. It's only PC Game Pass.
PC Game Pass.
Yeah, I don't know if Valorant has the same kind of unlockables like as
it does.
Very similar.
As League of Legends.
That's their model.
So that'll be nice. My son will have it because one of them plays Valorant on PC quite a bit. So that'll be nice to have those. He's already got Game Pass, so I guess he could just download it through their.
There you go.
Deal. Yeah, that's nice. Good.
There you go. It didn't appeal to you, but it already appeals to people you know.
Yeah,
there you go.
I'm paying for it, so yeah, good.
Yeah,
get some more content.
Is it weird to say that you know your kids? Is that like people you know?
I don't think you actually do know your kids.
That's really
that's a different kind of relationship.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I don't have kids, so I don't. No frame of reference.
I'm helping on that one. It's like you do know them, but not. It's a.
Yeah. I don't check their phones for a reason.
Yeah,
I don't need to see 15-year-olds and what they're looking at right now.
Don't do that. I've made that mistake in the past. It doesn't end well.
Mistake.
Then we got Plague Tale Requiem, which of course we knew was coming, was already announced for Game Pass. Looks brilliant. The only weird thing, like I said, is that they showed this again, and it was new footage, but we already knew it was coming. We already knew it was Game Pass, and yet we didn't get the release date at this show. We get it next week, which is kind of odd.
Super weird.
Yeah, super weird.
They want a second bite at the press apple.
That's true. Yeah.
I mean, it's good for the game, and I am a huge fan of the first version of the game. I think it's better than Last of Us personally. But I really like that. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, that's a weird take.
I mean, it has a very like focused story like The Last of Us, but it does gameplay better. So that's my bar, right?
Yeah, but it does, but it doesn't do character development or writing like Last of Us. Come on.
No. Yeah, you're right. It's not as good in those categories, but it's more well-rounded, so it gets a net up on.
All right,
Plague Tale's fantastic. Everyone should play that game.
No, Plague Tale's a great game. I love it.
That's great.
Yeah, I love it.
It's not remotely within the kingdom of The Last of Us, but Plague Tale's solid. Go check it out.
All right, then we got.
Fair enough.
And you know me well enough to know I geeked out over this big time, which was Forza.
Yes, please explain to me why I should care, Ains. I was actually waiting for this portion of the video.
So I could spend like a couple hours doing that, so I'll try to.
All right, the shorter version.
Yeah, the short version. So for those who one of the biggest annoyances, I think, for me and other people who are really into kind of the racing game community, right, is when people say it's just a racing game. And I think that the reason why, right, is that there is so much more that goes on behind the scenes of a racing game than I think people realize, and that has evolved over time, right? And Forza came in on the original Xbox, Forza Motorsport, right? And it came in, and especially by Forza 2, we've talked about this before, right? It came out of nowhere and ate Gran Turismo's lunch. I mean, it came in and said, we're the better racing game, period. Deal with it. And GT and Forza had that battle for a while. And don't get me wrong, I'm not putting down GT. I love GT. Now, over the past several years, I'm going to leave GT out of this equation because they're a mess with their releases in their own right. But Forza 6 and 7 in particular, excellent games. I really enjoyed them both, played them a lot. However, what they were originally known for, Forza, was kind of their physics modeling. They were more advanced in processing around the physics of the cars, the weight, the handling, the tires, everything than GT was. That's what made it a better racing game. They got away from that. Not that it was bad, but they just stopped really pushing the bar, right? And after GT7, they basically turned 10, took a step back, and they heard a lot of outcry from the racing community that said, look, you've got to mix it up here. 7 is too much of the same. You added loot boxes, which was stupid. Who wants that in the racing game? And they did. So they've taken the last 5 years, built from the ground up a new engine, not just a new engine for the core game that they've worked on Playground Games with, by the way. A lot of the tech is shared between Forza Horizon and
they had a Playground guy up there for this presentation, didn't they?
No, Chris Sasaki's at Turn 10 as well.
They announced him as Playground, the guy on the right.
That's Chris Sasaki. He's at Turn 10. He's the creative director. It was him and Dan. Dan's the Greenewald is the lead at Turn 10. He's the one always that walks out with the car typically. But anyway, the reason this is so important is that the engine itself and everything, top to bottom, behind the scenes, the modeling of the cars, the tire physics, it has a separate physics engine for tires alone by itself. It has a separate engine for surface rendering, right? So the temperature of the surface, how tires react to that, all these other things. So it's just the detail at which they're going into to recreate realistic racing here is probably the best we've ever seen. And if you read the details, again, post-presentation on the Xbox blog, on the Forza blog, they call it the most advanced racing game ever made for that reason. And so
they generally say
they're always going to call it that.
We can be honest that they say that every time.
Yeah,
they don't say that every time. Go back and look. I promise
you don't want me to do that, Ains.
You can, because I had this argument yesterday and I've already won this one. So if you want me to win it twice, we can.
Wait. So
I'm positive I can find 7 blogs that say this is the
where
most
they
advanced
say
racing game ever.
There's been years where Forza Motorsport says we've taken a step back from the sophistication of last.
That's not what you said. See, you're moving goalposts. You said they say every time it's the most advanced racing game ever made, and I'm saying they don't say that every time.
I'm trying to decide, Travis, whether he's just holding us to like the actual.
Yeah, I feel like this is a nitpick.
I'm holding you to what you said. You said that's what they say. I said no, they haven't.
I feel the general vibe I get from every single one of these.
We're not talking about general vibes. Take your vibes elsewhere.
Okay, man.
That's an opinion.
But you get what Hogue and I are saying, right?
Yes,
that's not a surprising statement at all, and that if they said anything short of that, you would be baffled.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. My point is what Hogue asked me to explain why this is important.
I legitimately am, because it did nothing for me.
And I'm trying to explain why this, as a reboot, right, and as a new simulation racing game, is taking that next leap that racing game fans have been wanting. That's what I'm trying to
say. So you think I'll feel that more than anything that I could see in the video?
I don't know you. I think that people that are
meaning the random person that one will
probably
be able
not
to feel it.
Probably not. They might experience, obviously, the visual fidelity is always a thing, right? They may have online some type of racing that I'm not aware of yet, right? I'm speaking to the people who are looking at it from a simulation aspect, who have raced in real life and want that feeling in a game.
How big is that?
My thing, Hogue, is that if you
bigger than you think.
Well, I mean, probably a lot smaller than I thought. Also, because here's the thing. I mean, I love racing games, only to the point where I play for 3 hours and then that's it. I'm done. That's they're always good and they're always fun. But I mean, I know there's a big community for the simulation racing, just like there's a big community for flight sim people. But your general, gaming populace. I mean, was it like maybe 5% of them? I mean, that might be being super generous. But again, with that being said, I understand. I mean, this is awesome for those sim racers, but every time I've played Forza, whatever the hell it is, and then I don't ever tune my cars. I can't imagine a ton of people do. Get in there and set the gears just right. I mean, that's a very small percentage.
Description of the tuning.
Right? Yeah,
just like hand motion.
Yeah. That's actually how you modify gears.
I know it is. That's why I did that. So I mean, that's the thing. This is great, and it's always nice to see the new iteration. I think it's always fun to watch. See the new graphics and stuff. and they always talk about the day and night cycles and all that stuff. Let me tell you how much I notice the day and night cycles when I'm racing side by side with I don't notice and that's all racing games. That's not specifically Forza.
But they said ray tracing, Dan.
But see, Dan, this is again, we're back to
the rays are traced.
We're back to the audience, right? Like this is not you. This is not your thing, and that's perfectly fair. Kizu says it here too. It's about the simulation feature sets people have been asking for. Yeah, I think
I'm excited for you people.
Yeah, no, I really do genuinely think that people. Like I said, it's a racing game community thing. The stuff that they showed yesterday, specifically the physics calculations, the day-night cycle, the weather cycle, and damage modeling are things that people in the Forza community have been screaming about for years. I mean, years and years and years. And the fact that they showed all of that in one trailer yesterday at the highest fidelity that we've probably seen a racing game at has people just hyped beyond belief for good reason.
Yeah. And I'm one of those people. Despite not being a racer in real life, I love racing games and being a car nerd in video games. So I would say, to answer your question, Hogue, what are the things that I think you should be excited for? I know you're a Gran Turismo fan, so if you could imagine a Gran Turismo game that was better supported and performed better technically, especially when the multiplayer problems that you had, or was it online where the online went down for a while, whatever. This is probably
Sony's having all sorts of trouble all over.
This is probably not going to have those issues because it's Xbox and this is their baby. And then 2 would be racing
the other
games.
Hold on, before you go to 2, I'm sorry, Travis. I don't like to interrupt, but it ties to Gran Turismo. So I don't think a lot of people caught. They specifically took a shot at Gran Turismo yesterday because when they talked about the day-night cycle and weather cycle, they said, and it's on all tracks, because Gran Turismo specifically only has day-night cycles on some of their tracks. They didn't do it for all. Gran Turismo also has no damage modeling, which is a huge complaint in the hardcore racing community.
Yeah. So there's that. There's the technical parts if you just like nerdy simulation car games. And the second thing is that racing games still do and have always pushed forward the games industry in terms of technical limitations, in terms of design, and in this particular case, the studio itself, which is Turn 10, their Fable is running on the same engine, which is incredibly interesting if you think about the kind of potential that might be unlocked on that. So I think there's a few things to get excited about, even if you're not a racing fan. But if you're a Gran Turismo guy, I would say that this should be right up your alley.
Yeah, and Aang, just for the record, I have Forza Motorsport of various versions is the most technically advanced racing game ever made in 2016, 2017, 2019, 2020, and now 2022.
Their last game release was 2017. So what are you talking about 2020 and 2022?
Well, I have them. I have these articles about either talking
That's the
about
game we're talking about. That's literally this game.
Do you want me to share my screen? Forza Horizon 4 is the most technically advanced Forza title yet.
We're not talking about Forza Horizon.
Oh,
we're talking about Forza Motorsport. They're different games.
Okay. Yes, because the Forza Horizon creative director didn't stand up there talking about Forza Motorsport.
Forza Horizon creative director was not up there. I just said that.
I'll go find the other 17 names. You're going to lose this one, man.
You're saying someone from Playground Games was there yesterday. I'm literally telling you it was Dan Hartman and Chris Sasaki. I know both of them. They're both at Turn 10. They work on Forza Motorsport.
I'll just keep cruising on back here. It's fine. I'll find more articles.
I don't understand.
August 22, 2017. Most technically advanced Forza we've ever made.
That's when Forza 7 released. Their last
And I told you they say it every release. I'm only back to 2017.
Yeah, so isn't that the latest game, Ains? That would be a great example.
You're actually debating with me that statements about Horizon don't apply to a different game.
This is Forza 7. He just
Forza 7, August 22, 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like
that's one of 7.
All right, I'll keep going.
I love the pettiness, Hogue. I mean, I think either way, fine articles or not, it's not as surprising or even like that's such a I just dismiss that statement every time.
But I actively said I know what you're saying, right? Like I get it, but
I get it.
There's two things.
I just like that we have a fact checker on the
Forza and GT are not the only sim racing games, right? If you follow that, there's others, especially on PC like iRacer and others that play into this equation. And again, I'm very confused by saying that, statements made about Forza Horizon apply to Forza Motorsport. They're not the same game. It's like saying Halo Wars got an award, so Halo 5's the best game. Like, what? No.
It might be a little bit different from that. It would be a bit like ODST in Halo 5, maybe something like that. No. But in any event, yes, they're both racing games, Ains. It's not, one's a real-time strategy game. But we can let it go.
Okay, all right. We need to move on. Anyway, we're cracking chat up. I can tell you that much. All right. So we're not going to go line by line to every single game here because there are a ton. So let's talk about the other kind of big things that came on here. So we did get Blizzard at the show, which is worth pointing out, right? So Blizzard showed up with Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4 pretty extensively. Overwatch 2 is launching free to play on October 4th. And then Diablo 4, they confirmed again 2023. Whether or not that lands in the first 6 months, we've joked about, of course. But the interesting thing about Diablo 4 was that they showed the footage and they said it was specifically Series X footage. So I really enjoyed that. And if you go back and watch that in 4K, it's really, really impressive. For me personally, Diablo 4 is my game of show. Just because I'm a hardcore Diablo fan. I'm ridiculously pumped about Diablo 4. And like I said, if you go back and watch that gameplay in 4K, it's knowing that that's Series X gameplay and not some $10,000 PC. It's pretty phenomenal, in my opinion. So what do you think about Blizzard showing up? I wanted to bring that up as a topic.
I thought the Overwatch trailer was pointless.
Yeah, that was a real weird trailer.
I don't know Overwatch well, but a lot of people were saying like nothing in that. You might know better than me, Travis. Nothing in that trailer really kind of stood out as Overwatch 2. Like it just 100%. Looked like more Overwatch.
The only thing was the CGI trailer afterward that announced the new character. That was the only new thing. Yeah, Overwatch 2 has been a troubled game, and that trailer made me more worried about it. I don't know why they showed it. I do not think they should have. They should have just showed the character.
I continue to be always amused by Overwatch going out there and pretending like it has a really deep story.
Me too, man. I was so disappointed the first Overwatch launched, and they were all these story trailers of each introducing each character, and then they're just killing each other. I'm like, wait, what?
Well, all the in the head talk. I believe in man and machine, and like all the different character beats. It's like, yeah, I get it. You're a big cartoon gorilla.
There are stands too. I've talked to people who say that like the story is really good. You just get it in pieces in between matches, and I'm like, no, I don't buy that, dude. They should have put a story mode in there somewhere. But yeah,
I put that in the bucket of it gets good after 50 hours or whatever.
Yeah, the Final Fantasy 14 predicament.
I thought that
we'll hope to get to that point in time. I heard it's really good, but it kills.
I thought the whole goal of Overwatch 2 was to add those narrative elements.
Technically, they already did with Overwatch 1, and because that was some of the add-ons. They did like story stuff, and they're apparently going to add more, but they didn't show that. So that's the whole point. Is like, why would you show something that people could basically play right now with very few changes, and then do a CGI of a trailer that we don't get to see in action of a new character? So it's just like everything they showed was the weirdest choice possible. Like they should have just skipped this or just showed the new character.
I think they've struggled with it. I think we've heard reports and leaks and things about how the single player campaign like isn't coming together. And like I think that's kind of borne out by what they decided to show there. And I know you want us to talk about Diablo. It's just that the Overwatch trailer
No.
jumped out at me.
It's fine. I actually am not super familiar with Overwatch, so this is enlightening for me because I didn't know if this was good, bad, indifferent, or what.
Has a huge following. It will still have a huge following. It's sort of like Destiny 2. Like it's very similar in that bucket of like people just love it, but the people who don't play it are like, eh. And I'm sort of
certainly less breadth than Destiny. Destiny, you can go in and decide to do whatever you want. Overwatch, you're playing Overwatch. I mean, so it's I don't mean that to be condescending. I thought that the Overwatch game, especially when it first came out, was solid. I mean, I enjoyed playing it. It just didn't have a lot of legs for me, and I haven't seen any reason to go back.
Well, the IGN office would play that game every single day during lunch for like 2.5 years. So I know a lot about it through osmosis, even though I haven't played a lot of it, just because it was always in the discussion in the office. But I'm 2 has got me a little worried, and I feel like probably Overwatch players are also a little worried.
I don't have any faith. I don't have a lot of faith in Blizzard right now. So
I mean, it's free to
Diablo.
play, right? So we'll see what happens.
We can talk about Diablo if you want, right?
Looks
Like Ains has already yelled at me for my Diablo 4 takes.
I haven't.
I mean, you did. I was there. I think Hogue has the receipts on this one. Yeah.
It's totally fine, by the way. I'm super glad that you are enthused and that
no, you should yell at him. He's wrong. Ains, he's wrong. Tell him how wrong he is.
Okay.
I mean, I'm lost in this conversation right now. So I will say, let me ask this then, because there's a chat I'm in every day with like 15 people, right? And we're all ridiculously stoked for Diablo 4. So what I would ask you, Hogue, and I know you mentioned some of this in our chat yesterday, right? The open world, I think, segment, something else. But I'd like to hear from you. What about it is turning you off of the Diablo kind of formula, if you will?
I don't want it to be open world. I don't want it to have open world events. I don't want it to easily lean into whatever they were messing around with an auction a decade ago. I don't trust Blizzard's current creative staff. I don't trust whatever Activision would have planned with them before now. I think it is kind of obviously pandering towards what you think you liked from Diablo before now. That it's a kind of here's a class from 1, here's a class from 2. We know you love Diablo 2 the best. And so we're going to just ape the living crap out of Diablo 2 as kind of a look and approach, which, hey, might turn out fine. I just find it kind of creatively bankrupt. And I'm not that interested in exploring it with a company that hasn't put out a game I've been interested in a very long time.
Okay. I think there's some fair points there. And I think, the Diablo Immortal situation ongoing right now.
And I said that. I mentioned that like my most recent impact point is like, what the hell are you doing over there?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's certainly plenty of evidence to show that Blizzard is not at least delivering the type of content that the Blizzard of old that we would have loved, right? So I don't think you're too far off with being having concern, honestly, based on the points you made. I wonder, I don't want to say that we fall on two sides of a coin, meaning that I'm just trying to be more optimistic about it. But I did mention to you yesterday, like the stuff they showed, right? The open world, the events that you can do with other people, the end game stuff, all of that's already known. Like that's all that
right. And I said I didn't know it, but that's me. I'm coming to this at least somewhat information free on some of these things. And yeah, I hadn't followed. I guess they did class trailers like they did for the Necromancer for like the other classes.
Yep.
They did.
So I hadn't seen those.
Yeah.
And yeah, I
they
like
do they do a quarterly blog on it, believe it or not, where they break down some aspect of it. So they've broken down like skill building so far. They've broken down legendary design, stuff like that. So that stuff looks good. But I mean, I can see the concern at the same time.
I just need to see more imagination from what I've seen so far. And maybe I should check out those blogs. But like, Travis, you did a preview of like a Diablo game with like building your own skills and like doing random stuff that looked awesome. Like I loved that preview that Travis had. I'm not just trying to gild your lily, so don't get too big ahead.
You're saying you like the game, not my preview. So
I actually like your writing, Travis, but I don't like to say these things in public. No, I read that preview and I was like, yeah, weird, new, interesting ideas. And maybe I should read the Diablo blogs because literally what I get so much of is we wish we were Diablo 2. Sorry about that decade sojourn into cartoony Warcraft Diablo. We're going to give you Diablo 2 again. It's like, okay. I mean, it was good when I was in college, I guess.
They are definitely, you do get some of that for sure.
There's some of that, but I will say they, at the same time, to me, a little bit of it is they're listening to their fans, which I think is good, right? They're going back to, we like Diablo 2, take these certain parts of Diablo 2, but they're also expanding on it. I think the open world, technically Diablo's kind of already had an open world. I would say Diablo 3 kind of gets close. They're hub worlds,
I was actually evaluating in my head when they said, I was like, God, is it an open world?
I don't
I'm
think
like,
it's new.
is it an open world?
I think it is an open world. And I think if Diablo 4, however, defines an open world, I don't think it'll be drastically different than what they've done in the past.
So I can tell you what they're doing.
When she gets on that horse, I go, this is different from Diablo that I know.
The reason it's different this time, right, is that the two core things. One is that the narrative, right? I've played Diablo 3 like 80 times. If you play through Diablo 3, it is clearly like, here's chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, and it pushes you down certain areas to progress, right? That is not in this game. This is an open world game where there is a story, there is narrative, et cetera, with all the characters but you can just go and explore and go off and do your own thing. Take that as you will. The other thing is that
That sounds better.
The other thing is that
I know it does. I'm on the outs on this. All right. Like everybody makes open world games. They always blow up pacing. Like they always do. I don't know that anybody has mastered pacing in an open world. So yeah.
The other thing is that the hub is centralized. So for instance, when you're out on your mission or you're exploring your kind of core world or doing one of these dungeons or whatever, you're in your game, right? When you get back to big city, sanctuary, or whatever it is, there will be other real people there. Yeah. So like, unlike Diablo 3, when you get back to Sanctuary, you're by yourself unless you invite friends in or whatever, right? This is going to be like an open city MMO style when you're in the home hub.
That sounds fine.
Made it worse.
Oh, you can turn it off. It's not mandatory.
Yeah, but design can't be turned off. So, I mean, I hear you, Travis. I agree. But, you know, you go in and you try to play. The example I always use is like Super Mario Brothers, right? And that thing's built to accommodate 4 people. And you feel that in the design. You can feel when design that you've just turned off in most of these games. So, yeah, I will stand by and legally affirm my ugh.
All right. Well, if you want to play the game alone, you can always buy Stadia. Anyway, all right. So I think some of the decisions they make are good ones. I like the idea that it's open world. You get more freedom. I also think the PvP aspect that they talked about, yeah, that looked awesome. So they're doing some stuff that's new, and I'm interested in it. I will say, people who have watched the show before know that I have admitted that Diablo makes me fall asleep. And I do not say that as a dig at Diablo. I do not say a dig at Diablo. I love the Diablo games. But their gameplay is sort of rhythmic. It's sort of meditative, and it makes me fall asleep just because after like an hour, I kind of just get into the flow, and it's just relaxing, right? I fell asleep during the trailer. I fell asleep during the Diablo 4 demo. It was, I think now I have a Pavlovian response when I see the Diablo loot and art style.
You just get sleepy.
Something in my brain just gets a little bit. No, I'm joking. I did actually fall asleep, but it was because I stayed up all night the night before and I was sort of like struggling to keep my eyes open, which is why I watched the trailer or the entire show twice, the second time in 4K. And the second time in 4K, I was getting super amped up by the Diablo 4 demo, but I had to throw that out there for people who know the joke that I did technically start to fall asleep during this demo. So there you go.
He does. He has Diablo narcolepsy. It's going to be
I do have Diablo
in medical journals around the world. No, actually, it's funny, Ains. You just reminded me of how much I dislike the Diablo 3 story. It's just so superficial compared to Diablo 2.
It wasn't very good. Yeah.
So it's I don't know. Blizzard just hasn't pleased me in a long time. So we'll see what happens.
See, I adore Diablo 3 as a game. As well, not at launch, but you know, years later.
What was that error 12? What the heck was the error? I remember getting a lot of those.
Oh God, yeah. Oh God, you just brought back nightmares.
I remember trying to play it and getting the error that's famous, but I can't remember.
I built a PC for that game. Built a PC for it. Logged in that night. You couldn't play, as you remember. You're right. Sorry. Travis is spamming the heck out of us today with his
with all his bots.
Yeah,
he's the lonely guy.
About that. I'm just trying to blow up that channel, man. Naked HD needs to.
You have to admit your equity ownership interest.
We're in a growth stage at Naked HD.
Growth stage. So I built a PC. Then you have to buy the code and you have to connect digitally. Remember, because it was forced at that time to log on. Then you couldn't log on and play it. And 3 days later, when I could finally play the game, you realized that, the loot sucks and everything is messed up about this game.
Go get in the auction house. And Chad is telling us it's 37. So thank you.
Oh, there you go. 37. Thank you, chat. Yeah, it was a mess. But anyway, after Reaper of Souls came out, they did Loot 2.0. They added the Crusader, the 5th act. You know, like nowadays, over the past several years, man, I've played that game endlessly. So yeah, we'll see. I'm hopeful. We'll move on from Diablo, though. Let's go ahead and catch up on Super Chats, and then we'll get to the rest of these games here. Dan, you're just back in time.
Yeah. You know, don't have kids. You know, that's all I can say is they ruin everything. Yeah.
I mean, who's that advice for? You
for you, Travis.
It's just for me. I do not need convincing.
Yeah. I am. Everybody else is good.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I'm just going to use the time to play more games. That's my goal.
It's too late for the rest of us. Yeah. All right.
They like to go places and then tell you, I'm going over here. Okay. And then call you up, you know, in the middle of a podcast and say, hey, I need to be picked up. Like, what? What the hell? Yeah, that's what happens. All right. Anyway. So Joe Munker, 499 Super Chat. Thank you. Xbox has Arcade making Redfall, Rare has making Sea of Thieves, City and making Grounded, Ninja Theory make a weird multiplayer game too. Boo.
My comment
Bleeding Edge.
It was called Bleeding Edge. My comment on this is that every single one of those studios has self-identified of this is a project that they wanted to work on, but it was on the back burner until Microsoft gave them money or support to do it. So I just want to throw that out there that at least to their own claim that none of them were like forced, like, oh, you got to do a live service game. So.
And there's a lot of caveats and nuance here, right? Obsidian made Grounded. It's like a team of like 15 people. It's not their primary project or even their secondary project.
Same with Ninja Theory.
Bleeding Edge was the exact same thing. It was made by 14 people.
Obsidian hasn't actually shown us a primary project in a while.
Avowed's their primary project.
We saw what? What do we?
Outer Worlds 2, Avowed, and now we know they're working on.
No, we were told Outer Worlds 2 was a very small team as well.
Yeah, they're all small teams.
Okay.
Small teams.
Well, Avowed
Obsidian doesn't make AAA games. Yeah.
So, all right.
You have to pick your lane on small teams then.
Yeah, they probably should do that at some point.
That's fair.
That boy horror. Forza Horizon community is different from the Forza MS community.
Motorsport.
That's how different it is.
Yeah, I mean that's true. There's different players in those communities. I mean,
Sure.
yeah, I mean there's obviously crossover for car fans, right? Like
I love Horizon. I'll just keep playing Grid. It'll be fine.
There you go. There you go.
Or you can play Motorsport on Game Pass and see if you fall in love. That would be my advice. So
there you go.
Yeah. Gecko Gamer, is Forza a car game or a racing game?
Sorry, we got to these late because they were tied into our conversation. Yes, it is. It's technically both, I would say.
I don't know the difference.
Yeah, I think he's being facetious. I think.
Oh,
yeah.
Thank you, Gecko.
There it is.
The Crew 2 has boats. I don't know. Yeah.
God, I played that game before it launched.
Rough.
I like the Crew 1.
Miasma.
What's that? Miasma. Racing games have moved on to VR. Forza, way too floaty. Wowzer.
Well, okay. So now you're touching on some of the stuff I was kind of alluding to, which is that the general consensus in the hardcore racing community is that the Forza physics in the later games have been too floaty and have not felt as grounded and realistic as GT and other games, which is what they're tackling with these new engines. Yes.
Interesting.
So he is right. Yes.
I guess this is where my lack of experience in the real world goes off because I was like, oh, I like the floatiness. This is
well, it's are you trying to make a simulator or are you trying to make a game? I mean, like
they're making a simulator, so they should listen to the Ains of the world and I'll just enjoy it. But yeah, I was like, oh, they feel better. But yeah.
It's actually, we don't want to stay on it, I know, but that's a funny comment and pertinent, Hope, because the fact is, right, there's a line there, right? Where do you draw the line? And I think nowadays, in my opinion, would be now that you have Horizon, right, from Xbox on Game Pass, and it's as big of a hit as it is, you should drive Motorsport more towards a simulator because then you're capturing more of the two tiers of those audiences. In my opinion.
As long as you think there's an audience there to cater to, absolutely.
Yeah. Cerebral Paul in the house.
Yeah, I'll tell y'all you're wrong. Hi, all.
Paul, thank you so much.
I got a lot of people telling me that all the time.
Yeah,
I appreciate you. Gecko, back again.
Again, man. If I wanted to play Diablo, what game is beginner friendly? 3, 2, or Immortal?
3. Yeah.
That's 3. 2 is the best, but it is designed a few years ago.
Yeah.
2 is very dated. Yeah, even the remaster is very dated. 3, like I said, I love 3. Honestly, it is simplified in a number of ways, but it is still utterly fantastic.
Yes.
So yeah, 3 for sure. Thank you.
Right.
Gauntlet Legends is my answer.
Great game. Great game.
It is a great game.
Elf needs food badly.
Green Jester needs food badly.
I got Travis. I get that when I play WW Barb.
Barbarian in World of Warcraft, maybe?
Or the World Wide Web Barbie.
Yeah,
for sure.
I use that to build to put me to sleep when my brain refuses to shut down at night. LOL.
Oh, Barbarian.
It really is. It's like doing the same buttons over. It's kind of like counting sheep. And eventually your mind just sort of calms down. I really like Diablo. Have I not said that enough? I
feel like you have to communicate it more because you do have this whole sleep thing.
Yeah. The sleep thing's weird, but I do get your point about the rhythmic. It's especially once like you get a defined build in, right? It's like when you're going into groups over and over again where you're like A, X, trigger B, right? And it's like the same thing, like just constantly. So I do get that.
Yeah.
So, but thank you guys. Appreciate all the super chats today.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right. So, man, there's so many other games to talk about. What do you guys want to touch on here? There was Arc 2 with Vin Diesel.
No,
I'll just
any
say,
desire to touch on it.
yeah, and let's move on because we need to get to the big stuff.
Okay, all right. Let me touch on this one because they gave it a full presentation, which I think was too much. As Dusk Falls, which comes out next month, narrative adventure from this new French studio, unique art style,
art designs that I'm
Go.
not compelled by.
My guess is that Microsoft feels pretty good about this one.
You would think so, given how much time and effort they're putting behind it.
I think so because it is not the target audience. These sorts of trailers never do well, and I feel like they knew that. But I think they're trying to get some hype behind it. They're putting it on Game Pass. I think they probably feel pretty good about it.
It's a prestige play. That's why it has like the Tribeca reference at the top. I mean, it's the studio that wants to show you something that could get an Oscar. It didn't look at
artsy play.
I think it could be really good. I think it could be. I'm optimistic though. I'm not like Hogue out here just assuming every game's bad. Guilty.
I love narrative games. I'm definitely gonna give that one a try. But
right.
In terms of what they showed, I don't like that's the I'm having a stroke flash between comic scenes, and I really didn't like the voice acting. So we'll see where it goes.
I hope the storytelling's good to your guys' point. The funny thing, I'll tell you this quip about the animation to Hogue's point is I showed a few of these trailers to my wife. She doesn't really play games, but I like to show her just to see what she finds interesting. You know, she's like a good judge for people who don't game, right? And I showed her this. She goes, "Man, I hope the animation doesn't do that the whole time you're playing." I was like,
yep, absolutely.
Oh, I think it does.
Oh no, it looks bad. It doesn't. I hated every bit of it. So.
Wow.
To me, you shouldn't animate it. To me, if you're going to do voices like that and it's going to sound like LeVar Burton reading a book to you, you should just have the static screen because everything else you spent more resources and time on and it looks god-awful. To me, I'm just a dude.
Just a dude.
All right. Releasing soon, we have the Hot Wheels expansion for Forza Horizon 5. Funny enough, July 19th, which we leaked ahead of time on Steam. Funny enough. And
again, you liked it the first time. Here it is again.
Yeah, okay. They didn't do it in 4. They did Hot Wheels in 3. People loved it. People asked for it in 4.
Yeah, then they did Lego.
They did.
Get excited for Legos in 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or they could go back to Forza Horizon 2 and do Fast and Furious, which is where I'd put my vote.
True story, Travis. I have every achievement in that expansion.
Which one was Pirate Island? Was that 4? I really like that
Beautiful.
one.
4.
Oh,
yeah,
the treasure hunting, that was 4. Yes, 4. The first one for 4.
Also a great DLC.
It was great the first time, but it's like, I was excited for you to figure out some other toy to slap this in. But all right.
Well, I think this one has a twist, which is that the tracks are placeable. Hogue, you can build a racetrack, they took their model from the first time they implemented it, and now they're making it sort of more Lego-y and interactive, and that made me excited. I was like, okay, that's super cool. So
over 80 pieces of track that are snappable, buildable, and shareable with the community. So you can jump into other games where people have built whatever.
That's right, Hogue. It'll be just like Death Stranding.
Yeah, don't do that. But yeah, no, I have problem with base building and changing up elements like that. I like to actually pay for a designer to have designed something for my enjoyment and not to outsource it to crowd people that are doing whatever they want. So I suspect we're going to have a conversation like this towards the end of this video, but I don't love building things in games, especially when it's a little bit fidgety. So we'll get there.
How about Minecraft Legends? New Minecraft.
Yes. This game looks great. Okay, so for those who don't know, sorry, I have to hop on this. For those who don't know, Minecraft is one of my top games of all time. I just think it's like such a pure video game. It's so
I honestly at this point don't, even if you don't personally enjoy it, I don't think anyone can debate Minecraft is one of the most important games ever made. It just is.
It is without a doubt one of the most important. It's also one of my favorites. It's one of those games where, like, because I'm doing nothing on Christmas, no family, what? I usually just end up playing that game, and it always turns into just like a binge. I have like an annual binge with this game. So this looks like all the stuff I love about the Minecraft world and the creativity applied to one of my favorite genres of game, kind of like an adventure, RTS components, defense. It looked like it had elements of a tower defense. So everything about it made me excited, and I can't wait to see more. Also, the team, Mojang has proven that they are good at making these smaller games. I really like Dungeons. It's not a perfect game, but this looks like like it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm excited. This is a really good reveal for me.
And again, if you go based on, the sheer kind of volume of people watching these trailers and the like ratio on them, or what we know how many people are liking them, this is one of the highest from the show, which Minecraft, go figure. But yeah.
Yeah.
I can't even tell you what the game is. It's a pure branding play right now.
No, that's not true at all. They showed the
You tell me how it's different from Dungeons right now.
Oh, it's completely different. It's
I literally think it looked like Dungeons.
Have you played Dungeons?
Yes.
Well, Dungeons is like Kitty Diablo, right?
Yeah, Dungeons is like Kitty Diablo, and this
so what
was
is
more
this
like
the Kitty version of?
tower defense RTS type games. I'm not thinking of a good.
Is that what I was
right
supposed to pick up on from that? Because they spent a lot of time boring me to start the video, and then I was kind of a little bit lost before they actually announced their game.
Did you ever play Kingdom Under Fire?
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of that, weirdly.
Okay.
The first Kingdom Under Fire, where like you're doing the RTS part of it, but then you're also leading personally a group. It kind of reminded me of that hybrid model. So we'll see more, but it looked good. I'm encouraged.
I'm totally fine with it. I don't find the Minecraft visual style as lovely as other people do, so I think it's a bit of a waste if you're not building things. But it's fine. It's branding. It's branding all the way down.
That's right. Yeah. Dell in your comment section, Hogue, said that it's Minecraft Warriors plus tower defense, which that to me is like a perfect analogy. It is like Dynasty Warriors plus a tower defense game, which is exactly what Kingdom Under Fire kind of was. So
yeah, it's not my cup of tea. I mean, the last one of those I liked was like Pixel Junk Monsters or something like that. But
somebody said Kingdom Under Fire is amazing, and I agree. Super underrated game. So Project X Talk, love you, bro.
That's Kevin our brother over at Project X Talk.
Yeah, tell Kevin he gets a big thumbs up from me.
Love that game. The fact that you look so excited and happy, I'm not going to take that away from you. I was just surprised.
Try, though.
It was such a nothing.
Try with every fiber of your being to take it from me.
One thing I do like to see, right, is like kind of the traffic on the individual trailers afterwards. And yeah, Minecraft is well, Hollow Knight's in its own world, so we're not even
for sure.
I mean, it's so far ahead, it's silly. Funny enough, number one trailer from the Xbox show right now, individual trailer, is Forza Motorsport. In terms of views, Starfield is second with Minecraft third at the moment. So, okay. Moving on. What other big stuff? Well, we got a release date for Scorn, the crazy Geiger-looking horror, weird,
somber tapestry.
Yeah. October 21st, which you would have figured would be around Halloween. So there you go. It's coming. One that I want to ask you guys about this one because is Flintlock Siege of Dawn, which we knew about. Yeah. Yes. So we knew about this ahead of time. There was a press release. I put an article up on it a couple weeks ago. This is the makers of Ashen from a few years ago, but obviously bigger budget, bigger team. And that's exactly the vibe we got live reacting was this. We were like, oh, this kind of looks like Forspoken, but probably decent. It really looked kind of similar in that aspect. So that's one that seems to be jumping out to a few people.
Did you see that they put like a Forspoken cutscene in like the middle of the Netflix Geek Week? Did you see this cutscene?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, it's ass.
Oh, I thought you were joking. Is that real?
They put a single cutscene where it's like the lead character from Forspoken talking to a portly archivist in a library, and the graphics aren't great, the facial animation isn't great, the dialogue isn't great. That's the entire thing that they showed, and it's like between random things in a Netflix broadcast, and I'm like, every single time I try, Square Enix, it's Luminous Engine, let's go. Convince me. Here's another crack. And I'm like, what are you doing? And then Flintlock was the exact opposite. It's like, oh, I could see how this game works and looks. And you've got similar kind of, it's a young lady in a fantasy environment. And this is what you want to be, Forspoken. And instead, you're giving me terribly written, awfully animated dialogue scenes in a library as your get excite type video.
Yeah. Oh, I'm completely with you on this one. I like that you are on your shit today, but I'm completely with you on Forspoken. I don't get it. I don't get what they're going for there. Flintlock at least looks like the developers know what they're trying to make, right?
Yeah.
Like
looks like a game that is.
Looks like a game.
Be a game.
Yeah. So, all right, I'll let you guys sound off on this one. because I was confused as all hell when it first popped up, and now I've gone back and looked at it again. I'm like, okay, sure, Pentiment. So this is apparently
yes.
This is
Why can you be so animate about this?
Well, because it's Josh Sawyer is a fantastic writer. He wrote New Vegas. He wrote what were those other 2 games? Oh no. I can look it up real quick.
I don't know.
But
I don't know the
he
answer
has
to your
earned
question.
my. I know you said that you don't have faith in Obsidian. I think that's fair. He has my faith. Josh Sawyer as a writer, as a director, because he's done some of the best.
I mean, I'll buy that. There were writers that I followed around. Drew
yeah,
Gray.
and he's just really good. That was my biggest surprise of the show because I just was not expecting it. It's such a weird looking game, but I talked to some contacts I have at Obsidian, and they said that this was sort of a passion project of Sawyer's and some other people who are working on it, and that they've been sort of like trying to find a way to make this game happen for a time. And I would not be surprised if this is one of the reasons Obsidian sold the company to Microsoft, is so that they could do weird stuff like this. And I'm really excited to see what it is. To your point, Hogue, if you want to be the pessimist, we haven't really seen enough to.
I'm
really
not a pessimist. I just I can't imagine being that excited about what was shown. But you've explained it.
It's really just that I have a feel, just the vibe I was getting from it, and it's the weirdest idea for a game, and we're going to be solving a mystery or a murder, and seeing one of the better writers do his craft. So I'm very excited for this one.
It seemed to be, we've mentioned a few times, Travis, around the pacing and plot placement of these things in the show, right? And I can vividly remember me and Joe and Luke were watching, and we were like, God, this is a kind of a down period. We're like, this isn't too great. And then Pentiment hit. And when they showed the 2D art style, we're like, what is this? Like, it just landed at the wrong spot. Now that I've gone back, to your point, I've watched it again, I'm not hugely excited for it, but I can kind of see, passion project, writing, mystery. This is one I showed to my wife, just being a non-gamer. And she said, oh, this looks really cool. And I was like, okay, she's a big book reader. She loves that era. You know what I mean? Maybe that just, I don't know. But let me ask you this then, right? It's Obsidian. It's first party. It's coming out this year, November. Yep. Do you show that game at this show? Is this an example of one of those games that would be better off in the extended showcase or a separate reveal, not taking time in your 90-minute, once a year showcase?
It only shows because they have nothing in 2022. In terms of first party releases, that's how it gets into that slot.
I think that you absolutely do show this at the show.
Okay.
If your show is a little leaner, with all the other kind of extra fat they had, I think that, to your point, you guys were already sort of like burned out when this showed up. But I think that there is space for this. What was it? A 2-minute trailer? It got me super excited. It's worth the time. The question of whether they budgeted it well within the rest of the show is a separate question, but I think there's absolutely room for something like this in the game. And
anything that's weird and wakes you up is great.
To your point, it's something that your wife jumped out at. It's also something my girlfriend, I watched it with her in the Florida hotel room we were at, and she also was like, "That looks awesome. I want to play that." So.
But can I voice an objection, Ains? I know I've been mostly just go along to get along here on this.
You want to treat the witnesses hostile?
You object?
No. Yeah, no. I believe you skipped a couple of games to get around. Okay, all right. Because I do want to at least throw in a word for the last case of Benedict Fox.
That game looks sick.
I think that looks awesome.
Please do.
And I'm very excited about it. So I at least want to get that out there. That Eternal Darkness and some of the old ones type stuff, some of my favorite things. You give it a flashback or you give it an out of this world kind of feel, and you could do some really, really cool stuff with it. So I want to, since all of the chats that I have open are telling me I'm a curmudgeon, at least mention the things that I really liked, like that particular game. Now it has an almost you can't memorize what the name of this game is, so that's not a great thing for marketing, but I thought it looked really cool.
I agree with you, and in fact, I see this game being talked about a lot. There's a lot of people where this game is starting to kind of peak up. You know what I mean? And really
look great.
Interest, yeah. So yeah, I agree with you for sure. I was trying to see. I keep looking at the channel just to see how many views it's got. Pentiment's over 100K now. Benedict Fox 60K, but I think it will make the rounds. Yeah, and please mention any game you want to. I'm just trying to jump around because I know we.
It's also just on the Xbox account, right? Which I feel most people don't get their news or trailers.
Yeah,
from,
yeah.
Personally.
It's just a comparison there. Like if you look at Diablo 4 on the Diablo channel, it's like absurd, right? Like they're already
of course. Yeah.
Just a proxy. It's just a proxy. I really liked Lightyear Frontier. I thought that was a cool little trailer.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm excited for that, and unlike you, Hogue, I got more excited when there were 4 players at the end. I was like,
sorry, Charlie, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I saw that and I was like, this. I feel nothing. That did 0 for me. I'll be.
Well, I mean, as a guy that likes Slime Rancher, likes those kinds of games and approaches to those kinds of worlds, I think that's very, very cool. I just hope that its design isn't, only contemplative of a shared world 4-person.
Yeah, environment. I bet you that sort of game. It's probably easy to design it both ways because it's like Minecraft. Minecraft is the same sort of game. You can have a ton of fun in Minecraft alone or with friends. So
yeah,
that one looked cool
too later this year. By the way, Game Pass.
So we're told.
Yeah, we'll see.
That date has slipped a couple times.
Yeah,
Flintlock. I like the cut of that one's jib. I know we didn't
talked about Flintlock.
We did. When I said it was like Forspoken, but good.
Spacing out. You were spacing out.
All right, you can space out.
That's okay.
I liked the look of Ravenlock. I'll call out.
That's the one. Okay, thank you. I just got the name wrong. I was like, I don't think we talked about that game. Okay, yeah, Ravenlock, not Flintlock.
So Echo Generation, if you didn't play it, a little indie game. It's on Game Pass. Has a cool art style. It didn't do a lot for me, but I like the look of it. This takes that kind of art style, and it looked like Alice in Wonderland, right?
I love Alice in Wonderland. I love that story sequence. I like things that use it as a baseline. Yeah. Didn't like how this one turned out and look.
Didn't it? Just the art style, or just
because what they showed us is entirely based on look, right? Like they're just showing off their look for this, and if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. Yeah. But I really like Alice in Wonderland, so I'll probably still give it a try because I think it's a Game Pass game, right?
It is.
It is.
But no, I was like, oh, that's not
what you were looking for.
I like the style. It looked interesting. I'm excited to see more.
Yeah.
It's hard to demo
Generation
games.
Echo Generation was not a good game, so I mean, I think we should start out there.
Yeah,
it wasn't, but it was also,
The funny thing is, maybe this is just me paying too close attention, but Phil Spencer has, he plays a lot of games. He's an actual gamer, right? And Echo Generation is one of the games that he has spoken about as really enjoying. And I've seen in the past where if he really enjoys a game, he kind of continues to work with that developer or showcase their projects, which I think it's kind of,
you can only use your gut. I have no problem with it.
Yeah, it is what it is, right?
So you're wrong, Phil. It's all right.
If he's right about this one or not, but I hope it's better than Echo Generation.
You better believe if I'm in Phil's spot, we're getting another Star Control, and we're just making things that I like, so it's fine.
Okay, so this I tweeted about, and it has blown up to the 9th degree, which is Wolong Fallen Dynasty. So this is a game from Team Ninja, very beloved, obviously, Games Ninja Gaiden, etc. in the past.
Stranger Paradise.
Sure.
Well, you said beloved.
I did. Right? That's why I stopped at Ninja Gaiden. But it has 2 of the core producers. The reason it's kind of getting more notoriety now, of course, is one of the producers from Neo is working on this, combined with one of the producers from Bloodborne. And so that obviously made the press waves yesterday. And knowing that this is Team Ninja with talent from those 2 teams, a lot of people are really, really excited about this one.
Same as Stranger Paradise.
Crickets.
It is.
I need a cricket.
I'm very excited. I actually like Stranger Paradise.
I do too.
I haven't played it. I'm joking.
Oh, really? You haven't played it? It's actually quite good. This was I was tempted to say this was my game of the show because I got so excited for this, but they don't show gameplay, so I'm not going to do that. But in terms of like the idea and the style and the team that's behind it, I got very excited. This looks like a game I'm definitely gonna like savagely devour. So I'm excited for that.
Evocative. That's a writer. Savagely devoured.
Yeah, so that's a good one. It is, by the way, it is multi-plat. It's not Xbox only. But just letting you know.
Did you skip Madame Avasarala and her history game? I can't remember what it's called. I think it's like Era, but they spell it wrong.
Oh, Erebon Shadow Legacy.
No, not Erebon. No, that's the one where they have Celine talk about Helios for another game.
Yeah.
It's Madame Avasarala. It's I want to say it's Aura.
Oh, yeah, you're talking about from Expanse. I'm sorry. Yes, our
my references are always topical and timely.
Our History Untold, which looks kind of like Civilization.
It might, like, it's a rendered trailer, right? It looks like a mobile game in terms of what they showed, but I mean, we'll see. You have my attention when you talk about Histories Untold, and you have, if you're actually paying for some decent voice acting, because that's a Civilization way, right? You get a big time celebrity to read out your encyclopedia, and you call it a day. So no, I at least think it's one to watch. It's going to be Game Pass, so I get to watch it and to just figure out what it is. So,
yeah.
But then, Erebon. I swear that lady sounded like Celine, and she starts talking about Helios, and I'm like, what is happening? So
that game did look cool, though.
It does look cool.
Yeah,
it does look cool. But I think my tweet was, "Is that Celine?" I think it might be Celine.
I'm glad
that it is that voice.
Pretty high on a lot of these smaller games, because when we were live casting, I know that Joe and Luke and myself to a degree were down on some of them, but I will say. Now that I've gone, again, it's the same thing, right? Time for reflection is always important. And when I think about like Pentiment and think about Ravenlock and these games we're talking about, Benedict Fox, they all look great. They're going to be games that I play. So Cocoon was a weird one. And if you're not sure why, Cocoon is from the lead designer on Limbo and Inside, which obviously are not only celebrated games, but have a big history with Xbox. After Inside won all the awards for like years, that company split, and the other company is now called Jump Ship. They're making Somerville, which, by the way, is coming out to Game Pass later this year. But the company that made Inside and Limbo, the lead designer, stayed with the original company, and this is their new game, Cocoon, which normally I would be really excited for, because Inside and Limbo I think are great games. Somerville looks amazing as well. This didn't show well to me at all. I did not enjoy what I saw of this game.
It didn't show anything. I feel nothing.
I'm intrigued to see more, which I think might have been the point of the trailer. I think their idea was to show you some interesting, never before seen mechanics, because it was very unique. I think everybody can agree that, almost to the point where you can't really even understand how it plays. But I think that works in its favor in this case, because it doesn't seem like a game that would demo particularly well. It's sort of like so involved and specific with its puzzles that I think you probably just have to go for a vibe and then now just play the game, right? And so I'm interested to see more. I thought it looked, and the sound and style of it was all super interesting to me. So I want to see more. But I get why people don't like this sort of stuff. Showing the vibe of an indie game is not really everybody's bag. But I personally was like, I want to see more. Show me what you got. So
okay,
I will wait till that showing.
And then we get two kind of big announcements. Persona is coming to Xbox, which is they're bringing out P3 Portable, P4 Golden, and P5 Royal, all on Game Pass October 21st. By the way, you know how it goes. Some PlayStation only people lost their mind out this. We're tweeting at Atlas and saying they've betrayed them and whatnot. These games are also coming to PlayStation.
Very healthy
as well. The press release.
Very healthy way to live, for sure. Yeah.
Good people out there. So anyway, very, very cool. I know these aren't brand new releases, of course, but it's great to see Persona finally coming to Xbox.
That is an understatement.
Yeah. And I'm actually really excited, because I really love Golden, because I have it on Vita. Mm-hmm. And I really loved Persona 5, but I never played Royal, even though I own it. It's still sitting sealed for my PlayStation. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping that, later this year, these will be games that I get to jump in on my Xbox, which is cool.
Persona's a great series, right? Like, the only thing that I said, and it's kind of the opposite of what you were just pointing out with the betrayal type stuff, is it's like, I just can't get excited about an announcement that is effectively only matters to you if you're just like locked down to the Xbox ecosystem and refuse to leave that.
That's not true. That's not true. It's also on Game Pass, so it's more accessible than it ever has been. Also, some of these games aren't really playable right now. Like, you can't really Persona 4. There's not a great way to play it. I think 3 might only be on Vita right now. There's a few like weird kind of. This is, to me, it's a game preservation move. I think you can get excited about it. Also, it's another excuse for me to play Persona 5, because I was not that big of a fan of Persona 5. I liked it, didn't love it.
Weirdo.
I liked it, didn't love it, but Persona 5 Royal, everyone keeps telling me, hey, Travis, all the things you've monologued to me about not liking your Persona 5, for Persona 5 Royal fixed. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I would love to play it, but it's a 100-hour game, and I don't know if I have time.
It is a big game, yes.
It is way too long if you're to give it another go. I played through the whole thing originally, so... but I might give it a try. So.
I'm actually not sure I would tell you that Royal fixes Persona 5 if you didn't
This
like
is what
it.
Tom Marks keeps telling me. He's like preaching to me of like, well, specifically Hogue, I guess the context is he said all the things I complain about it fixed.
Okay.
So
I would have to check in on
specific gripes.
Yeah. I get those delivered to me every week, so I haven't checked in for archival complaints.
Yeah, what my gripes are with that game. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Persona, look, it's strong. I'm not saying it's not cool to have it on like the consoles or whatever. I just it didn't do much for me.
Okay, fair enough. And then we get the announcement with Kojima. Again, nothing of substance here, right? We don't have
not remotely,
but we just have this. This was a Xbox Flex, right? We were working on a game with Xbox.
Yo, PlayStation, where you at?
Using our technology, and again, this is a play at garnering that audience that they're trying to get in with, So it was kind of surreal seeing Kojima talking on the Xbox stage. Or
was it? Did you find it surreal? Because like the Metal Gears have been on Xbox for forever. Like I just don't think of Kojima as like a PlayStation solo show.
He's not generally, he hasn't been traditionally, but there's definitely an alignment there. And considering that, remember that Metal Gears were on Xbox, but that was Konami. That's not Kojima Productions, right? Which only made Death Stranding, which has not been on Xbox.
So right, but went straight to PC. I guess I just don't think of him as like a Sony diehard, so it wasn't that a surprise for me. But I also told you this in DMs when he talks about I'm going to make my next game, it's going to be focused on the cloud, like 2 years ago. Yeah, in my head, he's moving to Xbox.
Yes,
like that's just what I thought when he said that. And so when it's announced, it's like sure, but I realized later on that I guess he never really had said that, and so here we are.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's long been rumored. I mean, we kind of knew it was out there. That said, I'm not a big Kojima fan, so we'll see what he makes. I hope
I'm a big Kojima fan. I'm not a big Cloud fan, so here we go.
Yeah,
let's see how that turns out.
All right, guys. You know what we're gonna end cap with? We gotta talk about the big boy in the room, which is Starfield.
Yeah, I mean, I've been pulling my punches so far. I've been generally positive and happy throughout this video. We can talk about Starfield.
So Starfield. So we get first off, let me just say, Todd Howard, love the jacket, my friend. Sharp.
Always so stylish.
We get the typical Todd Howard presentation. I will say I liked the way they presented this. It was a lot of time of the show, but I liked that he talked about specific different details. They showed gameplay. They showed different aspects of it.
It was like 5 separate trailers, right?
Yeah, pretty much. So I'm weird on this one. I'll say that out of the gate because I'm not one of those people that is ridiculously hyped for Starfield. I'm not one of those people that is down on Starfield. I'm one of those people that just knows this is a Bethesda RPG, and quirks, bugs, or anything else aside, I'm going to put hundreds of hours into it. And so I'm at the point where, like, I know I'm going to play this game. I know I'm going to enjoy my time with it. I'm really, really indifferent to how it shows, if that makes sense. It's kind of strange, I realize. So I don't know where you guys landed on this.
I'll take a baby step into some of the negative components of the demo, and then Hogue will throw us into hell with his probably over hyperbolic take, but that's okay. Let's probably we don't know. Jury's still out.
Haven't spoken.
Yeah. Okay, he hasn't spoken, but we've talked offline, and we kind of get the sense. All right. So the first thing I'll say in terms of let's just start with a positive. The ambition is great. The scale is crazy.
It is.
The setting is interesting. I want to see more about that setting. And I think that, and I obviously do want to play the finished product, but I will say, just by looking at that footage, I think I completely understand why it was delayed. And yes. I think that they showed it too early. I would have waited, and because the plan obviously was always to reveal it at this show. And then they knew before the show that they needed more time to make the game. And I think they should have adjusted their reveal window accordingly, because it looked, I sort of know too much because I'm in the industry and I see games in an early state, but this very much looked like an early access copy that I would have received. And that some of the time when you receive games like that, you sort of, you don't look for the bugs and stuff because you're not in a review state. What you look for is, are the bones of something that could be really good here, and you kind of write about that or you covered that. And just looking at what they showed of Starfield, I can see the bones, but it is not typically the state of a game you're used to showing raw gameplay footage of. And that is what I think was some of the people who came away a little bit disappointed. I think that's why. Technical issues, the combat absolutely needs work, though in fairness, Bethesda has never really been good at combat. I was hoping they would get there, but I'm sort of convinced that at this point it probably will not be your favorite shooter of all time. It'll probably end up somewhere in the middle. That said, this is why game delays are a thing. I think they made the right call. I think that in 6 or so months, when we see it again, it'll look like a very different game. Never forget the Halo Infinite reveal versus what we got. My point is always that they, with this one, is that I think they just showed it too early, and that I understand why some people are a little concerned. Me personally, a guy who's seen lots of games in this state, I'm not that concerned about it. I think that they will flatten out most of the rough edges and produce a game that is at least at the level of polish that Bethesda fans are used to seeing. I don't know that it'll be the first Bethesda game without any bugs. 1,000 Planets does scare me. I'm on that side of things.
Are you?
Okay. It scares me a little bit, but it actually doesn't scare me. It just makes me a little concerned. If anyone could do it, Bethesda could, but I'm just a little. Are they hand placed? Are they?
Sure. That's the question.
We just don't have enough information. We don't have enough information about it. So
let me pose this to you, because you'll probably have a well thought out answer. Because I've seen a lot of people, or even have some in the chat right now, saying the 1,000 Planets is my only complaint. Nobody, I would assume, being an open world Bethesda RPG as we know them to be, right? No one's saying you have to explore all 1,000 planets.
Sure.
So I think, to your point,
I think the concern that comes from that isn't about, oh, this is going to suck my life up. I would hope that it's not. I think it's more about where did they spend their time? Did they spend their time working on a really tight, really interesting story where, the 10 planets I visit through the story are really, really good and the rest are garbage? Is it going to be a Mass Effect 1 situation? Or shouldn't they have spent all that time where they were designing 1,000 planets, making the core game better? I think that is the primary concern. It's certainly what I think of is like, if they had just made 20 planets and the planets were like super, super in depth, would that have been a better strategy? But that sort of is a fallacious argument, just because we don't know that that's how it works. We don't know that there's a team that was just working on planets and they put all their resources into making sure they hit that 1,000 number or whatever. We're sort of working inside of a black box. So again, I'm not like scared or like, oh, well, I'm turned off by that. I'm just more like, that's interesting. I'll have to see it first, or they'll have to dive more into that to win me over. That makes sense. That's all.
That's what I'm asking is, like, I get I understand saying we need to understand that aspect more, right? Like, are there 20, to your point, 20 planets you visit as part of the campaign, and then these other 1,000 you can kind of just build bases on, resource generation, explore for fun, whatever you want to do. But I don't get the 1,000 planets thing is bad, because we don't know exactly how it's implemented yet. I think that's my point. So, all right. I know Hoag's chomping at the bit. I'm going to ask Dan first, because Dan, you've been quiet for a while. You haven't said.
Yeah, it's because I none of this interests me.
So Starfield, I know you're going to play. You even said earlier, you're going to put hundreds of hours into this. How did the game show for you?
Good enough to where I know that I'm going to probably will consume most of my gaming time. I mean, for God's sakes, I've got, I'm not even joking, over 200 hours probably in Horizon Forbidden West now, because I've played through it. I'm on New Game Plus, and just, and that doesn't have probably near as much content, and that's just, I'm just guessing, but it's something like this. Well, because I think Horizon probably has less content than, say, something like Fallout 4, and this is supposed to be more ambitious. But I'm also one of those people that love Fallout 4, not necessarily for what it did well, just because I like to get a little bit more value, I guess, out of my games. Only like I look at it like, okay, I'm going to spend $60. I want to get, a lot out of it, right?
He shops at Costco.
Right. I was there yesterday.
How about 1,000 planets? That sound good? You're buying
1,000 planets is too much, but also like if it's like, okay, I'm gonna go to this planet that has like one guy named Chuck that gives me like a side quest, somewhere. Where is he? Do I have to find him?
I think that's what people are assuming is like, I think people in their head are thinking 1,000 planets is gonna be 950 of them that have like a few trees and like, you know what I mean,
right.
like on them. And
I guess this ocean.
Yeah, and
a lot of them.
I don't know. Personally, I don't foresee them doing. If they do that, I will call them on it. But I don't foresee them announcing this ahead of time and then having 986 planets be completely meaningless to 99% of the
right. Like we don't know. I mean, why would you even say anything at that point? Just because I can fly. Like people call it No Man's Skyrim, which is hilarious to me. That might be what it is. But Skyrim or No Man's Sky has no.
I think that comparison's so overblown.
I think so too.
It's so stupid. I can't.
Yeah,
even...
No Man's Sky.
We're not the ones that put a laser gun in your first trailer and had you taking iron off the wall.
Yes, but that also is a trope in like space games forever. And as a guy who's reviewed No Man's Sky, I reviewed No Man's Sky 2 years ago. In all transparency, I can't get on board with that analogy. I really can't.
No, I think it'll be worth No Man's Sky. I mean, I think that's fair, Travis. But I don't think the comparison isn't apt. That's what they put out there into the world to see, to show off this game.
But I mean, if you
much
hit No Man's Sky levels
different.
It
seems like people are attaching to specific details, like, oh, you have a ship you can customize and you have a laser, but like the art style is completely different. Combat is completely different. The things you're doing are completely different.
Well, and we know how like the RPG elements, the character building, the narration.
Right. That's like the big part of it.
None of that stuff. Like it's not. It's like saying that Borderlands and Redfall both have guns and you run around and shoot. It's like, okay.
You picked Redfall and Borderlands to come as your really separate games.
Yeah. Call of Duty and Borderlands.
Okay.
There. Well, that's
Redfall's got a lot of Borderlands DNA, as best we could tell.
Yeah, it's just it's a silly comparison. But anyway, go ahead, Dan.
I'm excited for it because I love these kinds of games. Am I like 100% sold that it's going to be good? No. I mean, it's probably, I'm sure it'll have its issues. I'm sure it'll, but, for somebody like me who only plays a certain amount of games anymore, that's going to be one of them that's going to take up a lot of my time. I'm 100% sure of it, and that's not saying that it's going to be some kind of amazing experience. We really don't know. I mean, we got some stuff. I like the building part of Fallout 4. So this, the ship building at least.
Because as soon as they started building, I'm
not even joking. Like when I messaged you, I really busted the game because I broke the game because they have limits as far as like how much you can build like in a certain area of Fallout 4 in a certain game. I modded it where the limits are off or whatever, and then it just completely killed it. Pretty much slowed it down to nothing. So I really enjoyed that part. There's a lot of parts, the presentation that I was just kind of like, yeah, I have no idea. And we don't. And that was the whole show really for me. Like it was just like, all right, that was over. This stuff is coming. Starfield was probably the one I'm most excited for because I know I'm going to probably invest the most amount of time in it. Okay. But with that being said, I can't tell you if it's going to be good or not. It could be.
Well, no, nobody
trash.
Yeah, I mean,
so
I anecdotally, as usual, put a poll up on our Discord about this too, and I not a poll. I said, what was your favorite game shown over the last week? Not just Xbox, right, but all of them. Mm-hmm. And maybe you wouldn't be surprised. I don't know, but there were a lot of Starfields. A lot of people said Starfield.
Yeah, because the concept is good, but the execution is not.
All right, someone said it. Hold on, Rick, where are you at? Damn it, I lost it now.
I'm right here. I'm in the stream.
Hogue, or he said Hog, but he meant Hogue.
Hog.
Hog is fine. Those Duke kids will get after me after this Starfield talk. Yeah. Hey, so look, one of my favorite games of all time, we've talked about this before, I think, is a 1990s game by a company called Accolade, which is currently Toys for Bob under the Activision label, called Star Control 2. It features a customizable ship that takes you to thousands of different planets, allows you to join and conquer factions, has a wonderful narrative, does all these various things. But what it has first and foremost is imagination. It has the journeys to strange new worlds. It has the journeys to go and see what you haven't seen before. And what Starfield was was the most disappointment that I have felt in maybe a decade of watching and waiting for games to come out, because Starfield has the possibility of being that for me. And instead, what I saw was the most boring, imaginatively barren, functional, but not exciting way to think about exploring space. You start out by showing me the dumpiest ass ship, bringing in the non-AI compliant pirates where you bullet sponge the hell out of them, all with polish issues, which I don't care about, Travis. You focused on polish. That's fine. It's way a ways away. Yes, 2022 seems like it was a lie last year, straight up. So release it when it's done. That's fine. But the bones that you point out that we're talking about are not things that I'm interested in. This isn't something that looks interesting to me. When you start talking about precursor artifacts and the visions that they give you, all I think of now is the ass Halo series, Mass Effect, and everything in between. Every single choice that they made in putting together this game seems to lack an iota, a scintilla, a mere smidgen of actual imagination. Why do we want to go to the stars, says Todd Howard to me, in a freaking briefing room 6 months ago? And it's because we want to see what's out there. And what Bethesda has told us is out there is boredom. And that's why I'm upset about Starfield. Not any other reason. It's the dead-eyed NPCs and the fact that I've played Fallout 4 and found it wanting, and apparently I'm getting that now with a spaceship. It's the fact that you have looked at the questions of life, humanity, and existence and have answered them with, we don't know, please buy our game because we've got 1,000 rocks for you to walk around on. That's why it was disappointing.
Well, what do you really feel, though? That's
yeah, man. I mean, those are fine opinions.
I honestly can see his points. Yeah,
me too.
Yeah. It is a pessimistic view, as you are prone to.
I can't help how I feel when the trailer comes out and the Fallout 4 washes over me, and I have every.
I disagree about the Fallout 4. I don't think it's Fallout 4. I will say I like that there were a ton of different environments. I thought that was cool.
They did show biome diversity. That was good.
Biome diversity was there. I think their problem was they didn't show enough of what people think of when they think about Bethesda games, which is the people you meet along the way. They showed a couple conversations, and then while he was out exploring the world, it was just all rocks, as you said. They did that a lot. Yeah. But I'll be interested to see. The space combat interested me. I hope it's not all forward-facing turrets and that sort of stuff, because that could be bad. But the explosions were beautiful. And again, the ambition. We've got at least a year, maybe more, if we're being honest with ourselves.
No, it's more. This one is sliding.
Yeah,
really?
I think it might be fall of next year, personally.
Really? Okay.
They lied to us last year. They lied to us this year. It's a holiday.
Yeah, maybe. I've been burnt before. I just tend to be optimistic on release dates, and I have no reason to be. So I don't know why I am, but I really do think this is their. I said yesterday they're going to bookend 2023 with Starfield early in the year and Avowed late in the year. That's what I think they're going to do. I don't
think Avowed is anywhere near coming out in 2023.
Okay. I don't think Starfield's anywhere near coming out in early 23.
Okay.
I think it could. But I just based on where I've seen it, this looks like to me a game I got to preview a year before it comes out. That's what it reminds me of. Just having
definitely needs work. Yeah, you
having
can tell
played other RPGs a year before they're out, I have like flashbacks to that. So I think this will be a good game. I think the Hogues of the world may be won over, but I think that
I would love to be, by the way, for the record.
I think they showed it way too soon.
So that's crazy to me.
Every choice looks boring. They took the boring path. The UI is boring. The ships look boring. The pirates look boring. The cities look boring. It's all grayscale. It's all boring. What I wasn't expecting from this, Travis, I was expecting Bethesda jank. I was expecting polish issues. They just delayed the damn thing. I was expecting wonder and awe, and it is completely lacking. You can't just blow your horns louder and convince me that I'm in some kind of wonderful environment or experience.
Yeah, I think I will add kind of what you guys are saying, which is the thing that did concern me seeing it, because he showed all this stuff, right, is they showed building your spaceships, building your bases, space combat, RPG elements, narrative choices, crafting, resource management. They showed basically every feature from every game ever made in one game. And usually what tends to happen when that happens is you get the sum of, the sum does not equal the parts, if you will. in that, it's not going to be special like we were all hoping, because they tried. Their scope was too grand. They added too much to it, and they didn't nail any of those aspects. That's my biggest concern in seeing this. That said, the other concern, sorry, I was going to add to what Rick said, is that you could tell, I think a lot of people, myself included, were expecting Starfield, especially. Remember, this is their first engine update since Obsidian, Jesus, man, it's been a long show. Oblivion. So I think many of us were expecting for this game to come out and be able to kind of take Bethesda to that next step to say, this looks different, right? And I think what we saw was that this looks very clearly like a Bethesda game we know. That can be good or bad depending on how you look at that. What I hope it means is that we do get some of the things that have made games like Skyrim or Travis Morrowind, which we love, or Fallout 3, or these other games that they've made, where the community adores them and finds things in them for years to come. The modding, they've already announced mod support for this game, so the modding community will take over and create probably ridiculous things. But I hope that it contains some stuff we didn't see yesterday, which is, to Hoag's point, more of the curiosity, more of the, imaginative, although it didn't show yesterday, to your point, but more of the things that are going to keep players engaged for a long time to come. And you can see hints of that with some of the, to your point, Travis, they only showed the narration and the conversational stuff very briefly. And I'm like, that's a big part of your game, right? Like, or should be, in theory, a big part of your game. And I'm just worried that it's going to get a little too far away from that core RPG Bethesda experience that I want personally. And they focus too much on scale, building, and other aspects, resource management. Get away from me with resource management. I don't want to hear about resource management. And I think that it may be this game that's trying to do too much and doesn't achieve all those things. So
we'll see.
We'll see. I'm hopeful. I am optimistic. And like I said, I know I'm going to put a lot of time into this game no matter what, because it's going to be a huge scale game. It's going to be Bethesda. There's going to be some familiarity there. I just hope that it can meet some of these promises, because they are promising a lot.
Yeah. It was something.
It was, and again, I know there's other people. There's people who have watched it and feel more like Hoag, where they were really disappointed. I know there's other people who have watched it and are completely blown away, and are like,
I'm
over the moon.
hyperbolizing for YouTube fact here. I've literally not been that disappointed in a very long time. I was excited about seeing what this could be, and I found it to be a copy paste job of what I've already seen from them.
Yeah. I guess the question then is, if they came out and the game was completely different, let's imagine for a second, completely different from anything they had made before, do they then get the criticism of, why does this not feel like a Bethesda game?
Of course.
I can't tell you. You're asking me a hypothetical. I won't answer.
I know.
Yeah, to me, this is them trying to reimagine what a Bethesda game looks like if they reimagine it on today's technology and that sort of thing. But they're trying to stay very close to the core thing that they know that works and that they do well. And so some people who are hoping for something completely different might be disappointed. I never expected that. He described it as Skyrim in space, so it seems like we're getting something approaching that. To Hoag's point, the question is, will the ambition for creativity follow the ambition for the tech and what they want to build with their game? And I don't know the answer to that, but I will say that I do have a fair amount of faith in Bethesda as a studio, and I think that just based on the games I've played that were a year out and looked just like this, that ended up becoming incredibly good games. This is not anywhere close to being beyond the pale in terms of what I've seen. And we're talking at least a year. So I have a little bit more faith in that.
This is the first moment I got to see what they even had as a vision. And I find that wanting. It's not about polish to me.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think it could very well go, or we could say pretty clearly that this is 99% likely, in my opinion, going to be one of those games that'll be much better 2 years after it releases.
That's a Bethesda title, right? Isn't that part of their motto?
Yes. Let's get a couple of these late super chats real quick. By the way, Dan, I just wanted to throw this one up here for you.
Agreed with Dan. Thank you.
We don't know
Rarity.
what, but yeah.
Which Dan? Like me, Dan? Was there another Dan in the chat?
There's a Dan in the chat somewhere.
Crap. Yeah.
Oh,
that
no,
doesn't surprise me. Gecko. I went from indifferent to very interested.
Cool.
Yeah.
So some people it helped. I do think they showed it too soon, but some people, I will say the 4K version was significantly better.
The 4K version does look a lot better.
It's kind of actually, when you see it, it looks like it's pure beauty. It sort of, it hypnotizes you a little bit. But yeah.
It does. The scale is impressive.
Didn't make me sleepy, weirdly. I think there's the lack of rhythm is what I'm missing.
Oh boy. Fat boy back in the house.
Fat boy in the in for the visit all planets achievement. No.
Yeah, I'll die first.
No. Someone there, as well as I do, when this game releases, there will be a race to see who can visit all 1,000 planets first. 100% there will be.
Those little Anakin Skywalkers. There's anybody who's been to them all?
No.
No, I don't.
That's a Phantom Menace reference, but hey, my Star Wars fans.
We got it.
Okay.
We got it. He said, speaking only of himself.
Well, I got it.
Yeah,
I didn't hear what you said, to be honest with you. My brain shut off. Picklington with the two. Morrowind aesthetics better than Starfield aesthetics. I'm not saying that's true.
Probably.
Morrowind
I think all the Elder Scrolls stuff is stronger than this. This is the
Morrowind is a goat, so I mean.
Yeah, it's hard to talk bad about it.
That'll do us on the super chats. Thank you, everyone. All right, fellas, it has been a show today. Why don't you wrap up? Final thoughts. Oh, by the way, no Banjo Kazooie. Just kill me. I'm done. I'm not watching anymore.
Reap what you sow.
I know. I'm logging out. Xbox, you're dead to me.
Dead.
Final thoughts on these shows the past week. Anything you'd like to add just to kind of close us out here, start to wrap us down. Wrap us up, not wrap us down.
I'm going to wrap you down and wrap you up.
I think Saints Row is going to carry me for a long time.
The accidental winner of 2022.
Yeah.
It is funny how positive the reception is to that game. Yeah.
I had no idea. And then I don't know
More
what else after
games.
that. For me anyway. I mean, I'm sure everybody has 8,000 indies they can play with Game Pass, but I just want some big games where I can sink my teeth into it and really kind of get a lot out of them. Doesn't seem like I'm going to get a whole lot of that until next year.
Yeah,
it's fine. It's kind of one of those things where I'm just like, right here, it's even keel. Pretty average week for something that I always have very high expectations, and I'm very, very excited to go into this gaming week of stuff. I usually come out of it feeling exactly the same every year. Like, all right, there it was, and I hate it, but it is what it is. What are you going to do?
I feel like again, I don't want to get into I feel like the reception, the conversation we had last year after the Xbox show, we were more positive on.
I think so.
And I think that's because, to Travis's earlier point, right? Last year's show was focused on big presentations, CGI trailers, what's coming down the line, what you can get excited about. And I think, Dan, you can certainly correct me if I'm wrong. I think not necessarily about the release and 12-month thing, but I think you like seeing those big things that are coming. And you're one of those people that enjoyed that kind of presentation.
Yeah, I'm on that line.
It's just bad for us.
Yeah, right. You told that line between, like, I don't want to see anything that's going to come out in 4 or 5 years. I want to see stuff that's coming out soon-ish, but I also like to see the big stuff. I kind of want best of both worlds, but I know you don't always get that. I appreciate the reproach, though.
I just
Xbox
think
took, for sure.
Everyone likes a big, flashy trailer, but it is bad for us. It is poison for our expectations and for our eventual disappointment. Never forget Beyond Good and Evil 2. Never forget games like that, right? That we're so hyped when they get announced, and then just years of nothing.
I could go show you my tweet that says that game isn't real when it comes out.
Yeah, I mean, we all knew it wasn't. We all knew it wasn't real, but we've also all known none of these games were real when they get announced, and I think that's part of the problem. We've gotten hyped about games that haven't even been kickstarted yet because of their trailers.
Beyond Good and Evil 2 was designed to scare the shit out of Vivendi, and it worked.
Okay, well,
by the way, Michael Ansel, who is the designer of that game and the Rayman games and stuff, he actually left Ubisoft to become a chef. True story.
There you go. My overall impressions are 2022 is a bit of a bummer. We're feeling the COVID effect. I'm hoping we'll recover 2023, especially 2024. Also, the industry's in transition. Lots of acquisitions, lots of weird stuff going on with different teams getting moved and folded under other teams, and people working remote, which I'm sure I've seen so much of that in Destiny in terms of bugs and stuff, and their pace at which they move has changed a lot. So there's just a lot changing with the games industry. It's a weird time to be part of it, but I think future's bright for games. There's a lot to be excited about. And if you have a Game Pass subscriber, especially at that Xbox showcase, like, you got a lot to look forward to that you don't have to pay for aside from your subscription. So that's kind of nice.
Fair enough.
I don't love it. I don't love where gaming is at. I didn't like these shows very much. I think Game Pass, to the extent it's a good value, is potentially becoming the old country buffet of video games rather than the nice steakhouse that you want to otherwise eat at. And I would prefer to see more imagination in game development. And I would really like game developers to not just lean on the fact that they're so expensive, because I really think that the pursuit of realism, photorealism, the things that you described in Forza Motorsport, has not been a great boon to the actual enjoyment of playing a video game, of enjoying an interactive experience, and has cost a pretty penny for those that choose to invest in it. So I would see us go back to more imagination-filled things. I was woefully disappointed in what Starfield had to present, and just not really engaged at a fundamental level in almost anything that was shown over the past few days. Now, you can say, that's old man shouts at cloud. You can talk to me however you like. That is fine. I might actually be there. I might be full-on Jeff Gersmitzing in front of your eyes. I don't know. But I can say that nothing that was shown really, really sparked a flight of fancy for me, or otherwise talk to me about why I got into this industry in the first place. Maybe that's just a function of the shows. Last year, I really enjoyed Gamescom more than I enjoyed this not E3 week. So I'm looking forward to that presentation. I thought they did more in-depth stuff there. So I'm looking forward to that. But as it stands right now, all I can say is go play Card Shark, because the very best thing that I have seen this past week is a little indie game called Card Shark, and I highly recommend it. Go check it out.
There you go. Funny enough, I saw Card Shark and I was like, what is this? Is it good? Have you played it?
I played a bunch of it.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll have to talk to you offline about that, because I didn't know. I tend to be, and I've said this before, I tend to be pretty easy to please with these things. I can usually, it's fair. I mean, I can usually find things I enjoy. I play like every genre. I play all kinds of games, and sure, there's expectations I have for things that aren't met. Banjo, I'll say it again. But I think generally I can find the good in stuff that I know I can just enjoy, sit down and enjoy. And I always have my go-to in regular games, the Halos of the world that I go back to all the time anyway. So, I didn't enjoy this week as much as I would enjoy the normal E3 weeks we've talked about. It's just not the same. It's not. But there's plenty of games coming down the line that I'm excited for. I do agree that, at least there was a time where we would see all these games, and to Travis's point, if you didn't have Game Pass, you'd have to pay to try them all. And it's not that we don't pay for Game Pass. Game Pass isn't free. I'm not making that argument, but at least you can try them and try a bunch of these things. So we'll see. We'll see. It has been a show today. Longest show I think we've ever done. So, I need to stand up and get some food and stuff. Chat, you've been amazing today. I want to shout out again, or Hogue, I don't know if you want to, that it's been a pleasure being live on both channels. This was an experiment for us. First time we've did it. And if you enjoy the conversation about video games, you enjoy kind of the more serious look or more mature take, whatever word you want to use on gaming without all the nonsense. We are live every Sunday morning over on the Season Gaming channel. We welcome you to join us.
Yes, absolutely. If you are on my channel, this will not be a regular occurrence, I don't think. So please come on over to the Season Gaming Bitcast, like, subscribe over here. The only correction I would have for you at all, Ames, is that this is not my longest show, even in the last 4
Yes. No, I don't know how you do it. You're a trooper, that's for sure. But thank you all, everyone. You've been very generous today. Awesome. It's been a great, great show. So thank you as always. We will be back next Sunday at our regular time. And that's about it. Appreciate you all.
Are we down one super chat? Are you seeing
holy crap? I did. Yes, thank you. I did save it too. Apologies.
Detective C's 99 super chat. I need to get some games in with Dan. Such a cool, chill dude. Thanks,
Dan
man.
Getting the love today. I love it.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't really play games online, so also Hogue has caused me to look at Starfield differently now, and I'm not happy about it. I appreciate you, Detective.
I don't want to take anything away from anybody.
You did. You ruined everybody.
I will be the counterpoint to Hogue and say, be optimistic. Games are good. The studio is talented. I think that you might be surprised, even if it's not the thing you wanted.
Maybe
you might enjoy the thing that they made.
And I like having standards, but either way, I think it's about time to finish the episode.
Yeah, perceived standards on a game he hasn't played, but he's judging based on what he wanted.
They showed it to me to judge.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying. I think they showed it too early. We agree on that, but I just think it's to say that you have this superior quality take is.
Oh, that's not the only reason, Travis. But we can keep up this discussion after the show.
Detective Seed, sorry that I almost missed your super chat. I had it saved. I'm glad you.
No, yeah, I saw it up there.
Yes, thank you so much.
Nice.
All right, guys, it's finished. Great show. Thank you as always. We will see you next Sunday, our regular time, which is 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. Until then, thank you as always. Peace.